Hawk, is this our second or is this our third?
I think it's our second, maybe.
Okay, good. Otherwise, I have to
know.
change.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. I enjoy it. I feel bad. I should probably reach out and ask you guys to come on more and guests. And my old lady keeps hounding me for it, but I'm just like, it's 9:00 in the morning on a Saturday. I don't want to be sitting here schmoozing. Too fucking early. Anyways, yeah, welcome to the show. We got Hawk here. Actually, it was actually a funny thing because we were talking. You come on, and I'm like, oh fuck, what should we talk about? I'll think of some topics. I got a good one, and I took a look at what you sent me, and it is a good one. Like, do you want me to spoil the surprise for the audience? Or do you want to spoil it?
Go for it. Fire away.
The issue is whamming, fellas.
Exactly. Am I right?
Whamming. Yeah, because I was looking. There's a couple red pill things you kind of threw into there. It's more of an American topic, but most of you guys are American too. A lot of stuff from Ian Ironwood, a couple things from me, which thank you, by the way. I always love when somebody fluffs me. And you're kind of applying it in a whole new space, but I think it's relevant to everybody right now, especially now with the new nerd culture getting ruined. They took their Warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you know what? Can I put a link to it too, or do you mind? Do you care?
Yeah. Fire away.
All right. So here it is. It's I just don't care, sort of.
I thought it was a good title.
It's a good title. I enjoy it because it's like you're right. You don't care, but at the same time, you're kind of being forced to care, and you know, deep down inside, you kind of do care because women are good. I mean, they shower every day.
Yeah, exactly. They just have an amazing smell to them in general. That fucking guy.
But at the same time, you're 100% right. Like, you go on Twitter right now, and I was just happy having us talk about our dicks and bait a bunch of incels into getting banned off of Twitter with Misha's little gifts there. And now it's turned into a bunch of squawking harpies sitting on there. It's almost like being in high school again, you know?
Yeah, really. I mean, and I guess there's a couple ways you can take it because, I mean, just by the nature of more women showing up into the space kind of shows you that it's gaining a little bit more traction. No, so dude.
Yeah, it's now become safe and popular. Oh dear.
Yeah, exactly.
Of anything.
Well, I mean, you know, it's just it's the same thing everywhere, right? It's like, you know, oh no, the women are showing up, but it's like, oh, the women are showing up. You know, there's, you know, like everything in life, there's trade-offs, right? So with any successful movement, you're eventually going to have women show up to it, but at the same time, it's kind of I don't know, I don't like the word incumbent, right? But it's like, fellas, can we understand that we don't have to take everything the women complain about seriously? No.
Well, I think ultimately, I think that's the issue too. A lot of guys don't know how to handle their wives.
Mm-hmm.
And then it kind of spills over into the workplace, or in your case. So when you say movement, I'm Canadian. So I don't know exactly what that, like, can you talk to me like I'm an idiot about what the heck you mean by when you say a movement?
Yeah.
Conservatism or Republicans, or
no,
is there like some alt-right pipeline?
Yeah. I mean, where to start? I mean, I guess I'm very well connected with whatever we're calling ourselves these days, the dissonant right, whatever label you want to put on it.
Tea parties. I like that. It's catchy.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're talking about, or?
Kind of. I mean, there are definitely like tea party types where, you know, there's definitely like inspiration and such, but it's just a faction of people who are, you know, on the right hand side of the spectrum, which what even do left and right mean anymore at this point? But, you know, it's God, this is difficult, Ryan, because you know there's a lot of influences from like alt-right 1.0. There's a lot of influences from traditional like Republican and conservative circles. There's a lot of influence from like paleocons, people like Pat Buchanan.
What's a paleocon?
Yeah, so the paleocons were a faction in right-wing circles that were completely ran out of power in America in the 1990s with people who were like Pat Buchanan. I guess you could call Richard Nixon part of the Paleocon Coalition and such, even people like Murray Rothbard. So essentially what the Republican Party used to be until it got taken over by the neocon influences. And the neocon people are the guys who are, gung-ho about foreign wars. They don't really care about, actually balanced budgets for economic purposes. They're very Keynesian. Oh yeah, let's go
Dude, I
print
remember as a kid, that was
money.
the weirdest thing.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden when the conservative sides, I think, because in Canada we had like Mulrooney. It was the same thing. There was Mulrooney, Thatcher, and I think it was Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Where's a Bush? Whatever, I can't remember.
Yeah, Reagan was with Thatcher. Yeah.
Okay, so paleo conservatives. I get it. Old schools.
Yeah, essentially much more of like an America first kind of guys. And
by the way, that's super funny. I love how they call it paleo Christians, because it's kind of like I'm waiting for some kind of like seed oil conservatism as like a pejorative. It just seems like all of the memes, you just turn those into like political wonkery terms. I don't know why. Yeah, sorry guys. I know we're trying not to talk about politics. I just need some basic knowledge because I don't know anything about Americans. So when he starts running off his mouth, I'm just confused, sitting here looking like an idiot. So bear with. It's my fault. I'll own it.
No, you're fine. So, I mean, I guess like a TLDR is around like 2016 is when everyone was waking up to how politics is now going to be ran. Now that basically, the entire, I guess, neoliberal, neocon order, people like George W. Bush, people like, your Bill Clintons, like all these guys, they're basically two shades of the same thing. Right. And then Trump comes along and basically shows how everything is a complete farce now. And, I guess real politics is back on the menu, boys. And, ever since then, there's been new factions of online right people who each have their own like pet thing that they focus on, whether you're like a Nietzschean kind of like Bronze Age pervert, or if you want to be super matradcon like most of your Daily Wire guys, or, if you want to be like neo-reactionary, somebody like Curtis Yarvin, who
is he the guy with that had that thing about the dark elves or something like that?
Yeah.
But then you find out it's just him being like a theater kid trying to get into the cool kids club.
Yeah, pretty much. That's definitely Yarvin's MO these days. Wants to get in tight with like the Silicon Valley type people and such. But basically what it was is that, okay, we realized that these neocon fucks have been screwing over our country and we want something different. And now you basically just have everything in free fall, and it's becoming more and more in free fall as people understand that, okay, like whatever happens in the fall here, it's going to be Trump's last time. And then what's going to happen when he's gone? And that's basically what everyone's trying to figure out at this point.
Oh, I can't wait till you guys get an election. I just like finish it.
Yeah, I know I know it continuously pisses everybody off, but I mean, I'm here for it, man. I'm hype. I'm loving it.
It's not even that. It's like when you invite that one hot chick with the fat friend to the party, and one of you guys has to fuck the fatty to save your buddies, and just like you're all wondering, like it's an existential dread Damocles sword situation. Same thing here.
Yeah.
And as soon as the election's over, everybody calms the fuck down and goes back to what do they rant on when they aren't bitching about how men are being led astray by Tate? I don't even fucking know.
Yeah. I mean, well, you see this
or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, you see this now, and this is kind of the whole inspiration for writing my most recent article on the Old Glory Club Substack. And the OGC itself is like, I'm a founding member. I've been acting president for a year and a half at this point. And basically, it was an organization of a bunch of online right guys, a dozen of us with very different backgrounds, very different views on things. And we just wanted to start something different, like a fraternal organization for men in America. And that's the whole, there's one of our contributors, Son of Haster, one of my guys. Nice.
I can't believe he's trying to end your career with the $5 super chat.
Yeah.
You guys should know by now. You always add a penny or remove a penny, because this is what got Jack Murphy in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
And Andrew Tate.
That guy's he's a cool dude. He's the head of one of the fraternal chapters in New England. So we've got like little fraternal organizations popping up across the USA. Kind of want to have like a based Elks Lodge.
Oh, dude, like with the Flintstones hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't you love how I have like the weirdest pop culture? That was a 1947 reference, dude. What the hell? What was I gonna say? It's funny, actually. I was thinking about this. What New England? Because I think it was New Hampshire and New England are close by each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
So there was like an old red pill guy. His name was PK Atheist on Reddit, and his real name was Robert Fisher. He got doxxed way back in the day around that area for trying, and they were all trying to do the same thing. They were trying to start some red pilled version of what you're doing, and they literally called it the fraternity. Never went anywhere. because everybody was so busy posturing online about how great and alpha they were, they forgot they have to talk to real people. And then they also forgot that the red pill space is full of awkward, socially stunted men who have no desire to do anything with their lives. And so they're like, yeah, it just really fizzled out. It's cool to see you're actually getting it, though.
Well, I mean, there's issues that you're going to run into with any online space, right? Because I don't know, you have to have a bit of a screw loose to be finding any of these like strictly online communities, right? So
Yeah.
there's definitely going to be spurgs. So you have to do some serious vetting, and of course, with that involved, there's always egos involved too. Like any space like ours, it's just part of the territory. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I guess that's part of the problem, right? And it's a systemic problem. You can't do anything about it. Like your point. Obviously, you guys aren't happy with the current status quo. So you're not thriving under the current status quo. Otherwise, you'd probably be a fan of it. And that goes with anything. The red pill. Like, oh, these guys learning about sexual strategy. Do you really think these guys are out like plowing through hoes left and right? No. Why do you think they're here? Because they're not, and they want to be.
Yeah.
But that was always the funny part, man. You see like how quickly people will cash out their celebrity. It's amazing how low that bar is. People are cheap as shit.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw a guy ruin a community because he was proud he got upvotes on a monthly Reddit post. Can you believe that? I post Reddit once a month, and he was doing that to like win an argument. Oh my God.
It's so important to try and check your ego as much as possible with these things. And funny enough, that's how I ended up becoming president of the OGC anyway, because one of the other founding members is like, I think you should be in charge of this. I'm like, okay, it's kind of weird because, I'm usually like one of the smartest guys in the room, but when I'm in the room with my partners, I'm like the dumbest guy in the room. Right. So I'm here thinking, well, oh, what the fuck? Like I don't have, huge college backgrounds. I'm not super well read compared to everybody else. I'm not like an economist. I'm not, a business owner. I'm not a software guy. I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, but you can skin a deer with a ping pong ball and a trailer hitch. I'm just saying. I love that. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. But then one of these guys is like, yeah, I think you should be in charge. I was like, okay, well, why? He's like, well, because one of the first times we ran into each other, I told you should burn in hell, and you just took it on the chin. And you're like, yeah, I'm not going to react to this. I'll be fine. Because like this is when, I was getting in fights with other tricons in my circles about, oh, you're degenerate. The red pill is turning our women into O's. You
went full Mish. Oh no. You were such a nice boy before he found you.
Yeah,
exactly. You with his 9/11 nonsense.
I miss him. Everywhere I go, I see his face.
Well, yeah, and it's funny. Because on that one, like your thing here, it reminded me of Fuck Files, the last chapter, The Thirst is the Worst. And that's literally what you're talking about. The guys that give up for like a little bit of fame in that, they really just wanted to get laid. I think it's like, obviously I can't equate them because nobody wants to be equated with a communist, but you know how those Antifa guys, a lot of them join just because like a girl told them to, and they have a chance at this mid.
Yeah, and then they get stabbed. They get stabbed, and the girl just watches as you bleed out. Yeah.
Apparently that one, though, she at least tried to ID the perps, so she wasn't as bad as everybody made her out to be. She's just your regular garden variety basic bitch. So I try not to shit on that one. Every Cake Tits, though, she's my Pat Stedman of 2024. She's a cellmate too. Yeah, what is this? So Cake Tits is, if you guys don't know, there was this chick who was baking a cake for Jesus or something on TikTok. Giant tits, just flashed them out everywhere, but she had a tiny little crucifix up here, which, the irony's not lost on me. And then she got mad at Rolo because everybody's like, hey, get your tits out of the cake's way. I want to see what you're baking. And she freaks out. But then I guess she's tried to stealing furniture from the State House or wherever. And then she's getting the whole Pat Stedman treatment, getting sent to jail. Is that true?
Yeah. So from what I hear, I mean, it's so funny because there's kind of like a whole niche of these like Con Inc. types, these Daily Wire types and everything. And this group of people continues to expand, definitely since I've left that community starting around like, 2018, 2019.
You were part of the Fuck Trophy for Clout team?
Yeah.
Interesting.
For a time. Yeah. And it's interesting because I only like peek my head in there every now and then to dunk on these guys because number one, I want to steal their audience. And number two, I want their influence to be reduced significantly because I don't think they have the best interests of my country and my people in mind.
They don't. I mean, even from across, like, I guess maybe it's different because I'm an outsider, but from here, it's very obvious that they're just monetizing a demographic. They're wearing everything as a skin suit. It's literally the same thing as woke people at making everything trans. The conservative ones just throw flannel on it, flannel and a beard with some hipster glasses.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is part of the reason why we get so angry at these guys. You know, I mean, definitely I do from a red pill's perspective, because the only time that they ever seem to talk about the differences between men and women, there's only two times. One is because men have to stand up, you know, and be better. And two is when we have to talk about the differences between men and women is when it relates to women's sports. And that's it. You know, that's the only time we're allowed to talk about the differences between men and women.
Yeah. Which is the women's sports thing. I love the trans women in sports. I think that's like my favorite part of the last 10 years of history. Just the idea that men have like studied hard and found a legal loophole to drop kick a woman in public, like legally, without consequence, and you get a trophy for it. I was like, men, we will go to the moon. We will accomplish great things.
We'll do anything to be the best at anything.
Yeah, you got Danny and Ocean's 11. They're looking through. Okay, grow your hair for 2 years, keep a little bit of stubble, make a Bud Light commercial, and then bam, you can knee Ronda Rousey and crack her skull in 7 places or whatever that Brazilian chick was. And they're like, perfect, roll with it.
Well, the other thing too is that so much of it comes down to basically, I guess I call it like tattletale politics, basically. Like that Libs of TikTok chick. Basically, all she does is just find like some troon somewhere who's saying something absurd. And it's like, look at this. You got to be outraged at it. Look at it. They're saying this thing to your kids. And like, okay, I don't really care if you're going to point this kind of stuff out on social media to get, you know, a bunch of Elon bucks. Like, can we actually start removing these people from power and organizing at local levels to say, no, you're not having drag queen story hour at my kid's school, and fuck right off with that shit.
Oh, that's the thing though. That's engagement, women engagement. You know, that whole, I know Rolo talked about it, the way men and women fight. Like, we tend to be aggressive, have fights, sort out who's the top dog, and then get over it. And women, it's just constant character attacks. What is that if that's not this? Like, what's the biggest complaint right now women have on Twitter? Well, like, for the sake of this argument, the biggest complaint, it's that they don't have a daddy Twitter moderator to get you banned to.
Yeah.
Like, even on the Tekken stuff, I was doing the Tekken for Pennies thing, and I saw this one chick was bitching on Tekken about all these assholes being mean to her. And I'm like, you can't get mad because, you know, first name bunch of numbers with 10 followers is calling you a cunt. You just gotta man up and suck it up. And then she did some shit, and I'm like, just block him or mute him. Yeah, but then he doesn't get taught a lesson. He doesn't get banned. And I realize it's just like these petty, hundreds of thousands of petty tyrants, but they all smell nice and they shower every day. And this was supposed to be what the red pill was meant to address, guys not being, and that's the thing, don't be thirsty, because thirsty guys do stupid things for female attention. They're validation seeking. They're nice guys. Because I don't think women are the ones ruining all this stuff. I think thirsty guys on behest of women are ruining all this stuff.
Exactly. Which is one of the things I pointed out in my article. I thought it was fair to both people on both sides, but I'm pointing out, it's like, arguing with a woman on Twitter is effeminate behavior already.
You've already lost.
So, yeah, exactly. So why the fuck are you even doing it? Oh, and it's like, oh man, it's no different when a chick says, oh, that guy has to be banned on Twitter because he said something mean to me. He needs to be taught a lesson. It's no different than a guy who's talking about that fucking OnlyFans chick who apparently converted and now has a shit.
Oh, the redhead one?
Yeah, whatever. I don't even know who the fuck she is. I'm sick and tired of seeing her everywhere. But that bitch needs to be taught a lesson too, because she was doing degenerate things and leading men off the right path or whatever.
Yeah, she's got a husband. Is it a husband or boyfriend now?
Oh, I have no idea.
All right, that was just that's the Riley Reid situation all over again. The who's the other one? Lacey Green. There's like hundreds of examples of this. Some OnlyFans whore, sex positive feminist. All of a sudden they find a good man and everybody's like, hey, nailed the landing. Good for you. Riley Reid's now a happy mom.
Yeah,
kids had to move him out of school because they're getting bullied, but whatever.
Yeah, and then it's like free ammunition for all the, you know, the girls that fucked up their own relationships, like Lauren Southern, to open fire on all those red pill guys, which whatever term that means. I know
exactly what that means. Let me give you the melanin, because you can't
it's
start.
Guy I don't like.
Yeah, you can't say black people. You can't rant about the Jews. But red pill guy is easy because you can just You fill that with whatever. Oh, the little hatted red pill guys.
See, the thing is that you absolutely
Urban red
can.
pill guys.
The thing about it is, and this is what's so funny because it again just shows the fundamental difference that men and women have on the internet. It's like you can actually make fun of these two groups, and pretty easily, I might add, if you have a modicum of intelligence and be a little bit careful about it, especially on Elon's Twitter these days, where it's basically 4chan. But they can't even do that, because they're women.
Nuke is giving them the path, and all they have to do is take it. I can't believe he's turned into a non-stop Def Comedy Jam roast, and it's like, I hope he's fucking all these women.
I hope so too. That's
because they desperately need it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, do you see the last one? There was actually a chick on his. He was roasting some uglier girl or something like that. And then one of the chicks he has been roasting for like a week, I think it was the elf chick. She's like, finally, he's roasting an ugly chick. And it's like, that was her big concern about this. Not that he called her names, not that he made fun of her ears. It's like, finally, it's where it's supposed to go.
Oh, man, that's hilarious.
Whole thing is funny, and that's why I think that's why the whole like Trump thing took off, and everybody's just like, fuck it, because I think everybody's attributing it to like a politic thing, like it's left side this, it's right side this. It's a 6-year-old man versus girl or boy versus girl dodgeball game. It really is. Everything you can kind of see, and every guy, like here, Pat Stedman, super great example. What did he do? He acted like a woman and went to jail for it.
Yeah,
but because he doesn't have tits, we're like, fuck that guy. I put a meme about him going to jail for 8 years. You all laugh. It's hilarious. His life's over. His family's ruined. Fuck that guy.
Well, this is what I think is so funny, how everyone's talking about this chick that was in the Capitol building on that famed day. Yeah. And I highly doubt she gets the same punishment as Stedman just because women.
Oh, yeah, she won't. And that was the thing. Like Stedman, he just admitted on social media for committing crimes. She was caught on 4K. Stealing shit from the parliament. Like or not parliament. I keep calling your guys' Canadian buildings. What is it called? It's not parliament. It's
the Capitol building.
Capitol building. Yeah. That's the one. Just rolls off the tongue. Yeah.
But I mean, it's that whole thing is just that whole thing is ridiculous. Because it's like, oh, okay, it's my insurrection. So I guess, okay, it works now like it's a game of domination in Call of Duty. If you just hold down this one objective for 30 minutes, therefore you have the right to rule and you have the nuclear codes and the whole army is going to obey you now. And this is exactly how coups work, right? It's such a fucking joke. Speaking
of women, like, you know that one too, where girls will like beta husband, like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And then he does something and she's like, why would you do that? And Jim cries to everybody. What is that if not that exact same feminine idea of let's become our victims? We're better than those Troon victims. Yeah, exactly. We have political prisoners now, just like the left. And it's like, why would you walk into that as a useful idiot? Yeah. Knowing the cops are like, yeah, just come right. Like, really? You guys really think about trusting cops being a good thing? Political cops? Like, What were the I guarantee you know this one. What was the Rome guard for the Emperor Caesar was? The legionnaires?
Praetorian.
Yeah, the Praetorians start being like, yeah, come on over here to Caesar's house. It'll be fine. You're like, I'm sure it will.
Yeah, for such a group of people that talk about how like the government isn't your friend and they're out to get you and everything, they still have this really weird obsession with siding with like cops and police and military guys and everything, and they just think that because these guys vote Republican sometimes that therefore they're also on their team.
Continuum of force, the uniform, that must be authoritative. I love authority. It's so much better than this anarchy we have now.
Yeah, it's just
all this could be solved by getting guys laid too. That's the weirdest part.
Yeah, that's a huge part of my entire niche in the online dissonant right or whatever. And I'm constantly getting into fights with more tradcon people and super religious guys and such. But I'm like, yeah, guys, it would fix a lot of our problems if more of our guys were getting laid.
Yeah. Well, what about marriage and husband? How do you think you get weddings and husbands?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Wives?
You got to walk before you can run, man.
Yeah. Hell, wasn't it like not so long ago, the plan was to get teenagers to have sex so that the chick can get pregnant. You can grab a shotgun and they get married. Then bam, I think it was a Catholic thing, the shotgun weddings, or maybe Protestants. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at this, I think it was in Pennsylvania, maybe in the colonial eras from like 1730 to 1750, before like America became a country. It was
Right.
something like, in that founding era, it was something like 78% of weddings were shotgun weddings.
Really?
Yeah, yes. It's like, okay, please try and tell me more about how in times past everybody was just a perfect tradcon, wrapping it up before they got married. It's like, no, this is ridiculous. People have always been fucking, and then there was justification afterwards for people to start families and such.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll do the history thing. I got to get caught up on super chats first. Here's Toff, smart man Toff, $5.01 super chat. Just finished Dread. Why did you say the Litz was your favorite field report? Okay, so the Litz is the reason I liked his was we just did a mids watch on this where the idea was the nice thing about the old married red pill stuff was that you had to leave your pretense at the door. All this stuff we're talking about right now with ego, flexing on each other, trying to get social media clout, it just didn't work there. It wasn't trying, the place wasn't trying to be bigger. It wasn't like the red pill proper that was like trying to recruit or anything like that. It was just you're here, you're doing shit, and everybody's working on their own thing. The reason his was the best is because I found he was probably the best example of that. He just came in week after week, self-reflective, observing, deciding, and acting on his life. And after 2 years, and then kind of the bittersweet part about it is his outcome was like most guys are like, they want a hero and like, yeah, and then I got the girl, or yeah, I ditched her and now I'm fucking 20-year-olds. His was just kind of status quo. He goes, I get it. I'm not prepared to make these harsh decisions because for the sake of my family. And I know that's a bad strategy, but I'm making it anyway. And he just owned it. And so I kind of enjoyed that as well. It gave people a sense like you're allowed to be suboptimal, which I mean, married and red pill. What is more suboptimal than that?
Yeah.
So
And
that's why I liked it.
nobody ever wants to admit to that online, especially if you're like in charge of something, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm just good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, no, you're in an online movement with an audience. Nobody ever wants to, show that you might have some weaknesses, or you might have some skeletons in the closet, or, you just might be a little bit honest. No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I really like our buddy Nuke, when he's just like, yeah, I'm a bad man. It's like, yeah, exactly. You just win the argument right there. It's like, oh, what do you want from me, dude? I'm not Jesus. I got issues.
Yeah, and he's smart about it too. Like AJ Cortez tried that same shit, but he's like, yeah, here's my $5,000 grand larceny. I'm like, bro, like I get wearing your weakness as armor, but you're not supposed to be here. Be like, yeah, that's when I made hooch under the radiator.
Yeah.
Fuck. Anyways, and then Toff, that $2 here. Did you see the debate with Yarvin and Rufo?
I did not see it. I heard about it. Debates are gay. I don't like watching debates.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started. Why don't you like? I know why I don't like debates. Why don't you like debates?
I don't like debates because it so often, if anything is like a quote unquote like sanctioned debate, right? You just know that nothing really important is going to be talked about. It's a set parameters. It's an Overton window, and the whole point of the thing is to keep you locked into this tight little box of your mind of what you're allowed to think about. And then comes the combination of nobody's mind has ever really changed, and it's just an excuse for everyone in the audience to say, "Oh, my guy won, and my guy got a number on this other guy." And it really doesn't accomplish anything. And I don't even think it expands people's audiences either, to like reach out to somebody else like, oh, we're going to have a debate. Like, the old kill stream, blood sports debates. I don't think so. I don't think
I've actually experimented with this. I've checked it out. I've had like, obviously I do things with collabs with Rolo from time to time. I did a debate with that erudite chick, the Savvy Writes books. You guys remember her as the big titted one that's like, I won't have these guys on my channel again. And I would pay attention over the next couple of weeks. Did that change? And never changes anything. It doesn't make your audience grow. It doesn't make it shrink. It's just content. And you're absolutely right. So then it makes me wonder, like these people have the same statistics I have, and there's no way they're growing from it. So they must know that there's really nothing to do. And I honestly think this is why I hate debates, because it's just talentless people coming up with content and they have no ability to create anything. So like, I don't know. How about I just call this guy an asshole for 2 hours, have him yell at me, and then you guys in the audience could jerk off thinking, dude, they were the asshole. Check out these 7 clips that I didn't ignore where I'm right. And those 7 were the other guys like, yeah, these ones I was right. And you're like, I didn't see that.
I think a large portion of it too is audience capture. I mean, you see this all the time in like super chats and such. Like some guy will ask, hey, are you familiar with this guy? And hey, you should have a conversation with this guy. And really what they mean by having a conversation is, they want monkeys throwing shit at each other, for entertainment.
I call them 8-year-olds where they have like He-Man and G.I. Joe. And you remember when you were a kid, and you just start clacking them together, making explosion sounds. Like that's what these grown adults want with you now. Dude, you should have a lightsaber battle with Yoda. I think that would be worth the price of admission. No force powers, only green sabers. I think it would work. You can pick the spot.
Yeah, and so much of this also just comes from the nature of being online, right? It's like, oh, I got to make sure I tweet this out or put it on Instagram or whatever, make sure everybody knows. And this is why I like our mutual friend Mac Kenzie Puff so much. She's constantly railing about this. It's like what the fuck are you tweeting like pictures of your family out for? Why are you talking about like the most intimate parts of your life online for internet clout? And dude, like, this is why I keep anonymous, man. It's not so much about like I'm going to be persecuted for my views, which I probably will be, but I don't care. Yeah. I'll stand up for what I believe in. It's just I do not want the attention of people who have way too much time on their hands. No, I never showing face, never talking about relationships online. Fuck no.
What? It's
other people in my life haven't signed up for this, you know?
Yeah, as soon as you start bringing up relationships, fuck trophies. Yeah, I remember, because you know what started that with me, the whole fuck trophies for clout thing. It was this online brand strategy that guys would have where their wife would just give birth, and then they would start posting her like cake tits one, because you know girls their mammaries are all engorged, so they have big tits for once. And the guys are like, yeah, look at my brand new mother of 3, and you're just like, bro, at least turn the thermometer up a little bit. I can see those nipples from here.
Yeah.
And then that got me down the rabbit hole, and that's when I finally found out about Daily Wire and Mr. Matt Walsh himself, and that's, oh man, you know the story now.
I will consider my job done when that organization is burnt to the ground and the earth is salted where it once stood. I cannot stand any of those guys. They're all containment, and what I mean by containment is that they stop people from addressing actual issues, and they keep everything in a little Overton window box that you're allowed to talk about, right? The only time we're allowed to talk about red pill stuff is when we're yelling at Andrew Tate. The only time we're allowed to talk about foreign policy stuff is, well, we have to, it's just as a given, we have to support Israel. Come on. And, you know, pay no attention to the organization and what certain group Daily Wire is run by and what religious affiliation and ethnic affiliation those people have. Pay no attention to that, but...
We don't even have to go there. You know what sold me on the pro-Palestine thing? Like they had the whole, what do they call those guys? The Airborne Parachute Canoe Club or whatever. Like that whole event, October, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then somebody had like the foresight to go, I don't know anything about this war. I don't know about the sides, but somehow this is going to involve Canada taking in more refugees.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Israel petitioned our government to take in a bunch of new Palestinians, the ones they had just finished telling us were evil incarnate. And we just took 1,000 in. 0, like none of them were turned back. None of them were turned down. All wholesale.
Our greatest ally strikes again.
Yeah. So right there, I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. We have enough migrants coming in this year. We already got like 1 million new people in Toronto in the last 5 years. We're a city of 5 million people now.
Yeah, I've had discussions with our mutual friend, Giant Geo, and he's just saying like, yeah, man, Canada is in such a bad way with this migrant stuff.
Oh, and you know, this will make you feel better as an American. Like, you know, when you guys bitch about, oh, this is going to hell. And I was like, dude, that was Canada 15 years ago. You have no idea how much worse it gets. I got friends that work in like bigger companies here. And they talk about the, I don't even know if this is a word, the indefinication. The entire workplace has basically been replaced. And like, everybody's trying to wonder, is that because it's cheaper for migrant labor? Is it a DEI initiative? Nobody knows. Everybody just knows it's like.
It's both.
Yeah. And which in itself, like, why is that a bad thing? Well, I mean, I don't know if you know about the skills gap, or what do they call that one? The competency crisis.
Yeah.
It's kind of coming here. I can't find a cotton shirt anymore. They don't make shirts out of cotton anymore. And it's like little things like that. And it drives me nuts.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Like, one of the a priori priors, right, if you're on the, normie conservative right, is that, well, we have to be locked into this Cold War capitalism versus communism still. I mean, the Soviet Union doesn't exist anymore, but we have to, back capitalism no matter what. It's one of those things like you must defend the free market at all costs. And I'm just sitting here thinking as a rational thinking adult, it's like, okay, well, it's an economic system. I'll use it when it benefits me and I'll toss it aside when it's not. And this whole idea of globalism, where we're going to turn everything into basically a Walmart, the entire world, so we can expand our markets. And as a result of that, we're just going to integrate and mix everybody and all the disparate groups together throughout the entire world. And this way, we're going to just make a shitload of money, and consequences be damned of what that's going to do to people's cultures, what it's going to do when you're moving vast swaths of people throughout the world. And a pet project of mine, what damage you're going to do to the environment from a conservation standpoint, because these people are constantly talking about like global warming and environmental disasters and such.
Oh, they don't care.
Oh, of course they don't care. Because then they'd actually have to face the consequences of their actions and what they've done by giving technology to the third world that they didn't invent for themselves. So we have huge population booms. And I mean, just look at pictures from places like Nigeria, places like India, places like Southeast Asia, where they literally just pour tons and tons of plastic into their rivers and just fucking kill everything. And somehow that's my fault over here in the United States.
But you know what gets me on that too is that everybody, and I promise guys, I'm gonna bring this back to sexual dynamics. I promise. Is like they don't believe it. There was like a bunch of studies done where they gave people two offers. One was like a substantial thing that would fix some kind of small environmental crisis, but there was no clout involved. And the other one was to make a big showy example of some gesture towards environmentalism to do. And everybody took the second one on that was like an environmentalist. And then the control group would take the first one that was more effective. So I already know it's mostly just signaling theory. And then you get to problems. I don't even have to go to Nigeria. Canada right now. You know how China has that demographic problem where there's 104 men for every 100 women? And then they're like, okay, that's going to be a lot of guys that are essentially like celibate for life. Canada's at 109 right now.
Wow.
Because we in all of our immigration stuff, we didn't think at any point we should take some chicks. Not one. And so Delicious Tacos is right. There are no like women are 30% of the population. And then Dexter Day Game, he's one of the Day Game accounts I follow. He's from Toronto too, and he goes, "I wonder, do you think this will make things better, or people are asking, to make it better or worse for men in Canada?" And he's like, "Oh, better." It's like you basically now have to work like your competition is a third world migrant that lives 20 to an apartment. It's like, how are you not cleaning house right now?
Yeah, I mean, well, again, this is another one of my my takes I've been making the rounds on Twitter with, but you see it all the time with guys in our comments section, and I joke about how connecting India to the internet has been a disaster for humanity. And you see these guys that come in, and it's like, oh no, the women would not date us brown men, and it's like,
the Bob's of the Gene thing.
Yeah, it's like, I don't fucking care about your problems, man. Like, it's not my job to make like white women in the United States fall in love with you. I don't fucking care. It's not my problem. Go back home if it's so much of an issue for you.
There was a whole big red pill thing on that too. They actually made their own subreddit called Asian Masculinity, and it's just it's the testicular cancer thing. It was always like there was two problems. One, white women won't date us because we're Chinese or Indian or whatever. And then the second one was always our women are out there fucking white guys until they hit 26, 27, and then they come down and want a good Indian boy to settle down with. And I hate how I have to pay full price for used goods. And that was the two things. And it was so. And we had some married red pill guys that were Asian too, and they just hated those guys. I'm like, you whiny bitches. Like, all you had to do is the same thing everybody here in the West does. If you want to be hot towards chicks, work out, have game, get a good haircut, smell nice, like all the basic shit that I had in like volume 1 that everybody's like, this is too easy. There's no way people don't know not to shave their balls every now and again. It's like, yeah, they don't. And then not only that, they get that stupid cultural indoctrination where everybody's like gets to be a victim. So you come here, and that's all the messaging you get is find yourself an oppressed and join in. And they're not realizing, yeah, you aren't invited to that party. That's only for women and gay people and troons. So you don't get to cry about oppression.
Yeah, exactly.
But then that's the problem, because you go online and it's supposed to be like I almost call it like a VLAN. So I can talk to somebody from Saskatchewan, British Columbia, Quebec. Well, maybe not Quebec. Fuck those guys, but Newfoundland. And we all get to sit here because we have very similar problems. The problem is now you get this influx of Asian masculinity accounts, and they kind of just distill every. That's why Do you know how many content creators we have right now that have otherwise really great content who are sitting here constantly blabbing about incels and black pill bullshit because of this nonsense? Like they've totally moved the Overton window to their horrible situation that nobody gives a shit about and doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, it's very feminine, you know, to expect everybody to be caring about your own issues that are affecting your own personal life and such. And then on top of that, to think that it's some kind of trophy that you're being victimized, you know, and it just it diverts resources that should be focusing on other things, like actually affecting things and changing things. But you know, of course, it's the internet. You know, I don't want to be right. I just want to complain. You know,
well, it's worse than that too, because now like even the figureheads, like the brands, you and me and these guys, instead of talking about covert contracts or and those are, I get that's my pet project, but whatever your version of covert contracts are, and they're sitting here talking about how AI girlfriends are going to ruin everything and women will finally learn their lesson. And before that, it was sex bots are going to teach them a lesson. And then you go far enough back, it was like VHS tapes of porn going to ruin families. The phonograph, you can hear moaning. And I was just like, how do we, this is what drives me nuts about the audience capture, like you were saying, because you got loud people with no income, no hope, no possible chance of getting laid or anything. And they just want to live in that misery. They drag everybody down with them because there's all you see is 500 people. Like you guys see us brands yelling at each other. All we see are 500 first name bunch of numbers talking about sex bots. Yeah. And so a bunch of creators now are like, well, I guess sex bots are the new biggest thing. It's like, no, they're not. They're not.
I was tweeting about this yesterday. Like, okay, so I checked Twitter. I'm at like I'm at permanent like plus 20 notifications, right? You know how it goes when you log on. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, what the fuck? Did like Rolo retweet me again or something? And you know, I got a bunch of notifications. What's the big deal? And then I check. It's just, oh no, it's just some guy having an argument with a whammon in the comment section again. It's like, oh, do better, man. Yeah, it's like, do better, dude. Like, come on, what the fuck is this?
And I can almost understand, like, honestly now, like, I just have all notifications off. Unless I'm following you, I don't give a shit what you got to say. I'll go to my profile and look through it later to see if there's anything interesting. But yeah, same thing. Now, when somebody starts talking shit about me, I think a couple things. One, if I quote tweet them with some shit, is it going to be funny? Two, look at their followers and following. If like these 5,000 follows, 5,000 following, I'm like, no. Or more follows than follow, like, you know, more people they follow than people following them. I'm like,
yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And then there's the new link in bio one, which is like deceptive. Like they're like a super channel softcore porn 50s movie, like Sensual Desire 7.
You know, I'm
getting that italicized font.
As a side note, I'm actually getting really mad at those at this point because they're starting to tweet out like whole pictures of vag, and it's like, listen,
I saw that.
You know, it's like, listen, I'm no prude, all right. I like looking at hot, sexy women, right? But the problem is now is like that's becoming a liability at this point. I can't be like checking Twitter like when I'm out in public and just, you know, a picture of like legit Bob's and Vagine comes on my screen when I'm standing there. Like this cannot continue.
First one I saw was a chick full out going down and the camera was right there for it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
My girl looks over. She's like, are you sitting there watching porn? I'm like, I swear I'm just looking up political hot takes. I swear. I borrowed one though. I saw one that was like, that's kind of all right. And they have, you know how they used to like block the stuff to make it PG by saying links in bio, and I just replaced book in bio, and I post that every now and again. I have no idea if that's a good idea. A lot of this stuff is A/B testing. Hopefully I don't get that Elon ban hammer.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, yeah, Nuke. He said top 5 dinosaurs now, and I made him wait. So top 5 dinosaurs for you.
He's gonna wait. All right. Well, my favorite dinosaur of all time is Stegosaurus, because just nothing else like past or present looks like it. It's just so unique. I like Brachiosaurus, big tall sauropod. I enjoy obviously like T-Rex. You know, everybody likes the T-Rex, right? I like raptors, like a Utah raptor, one of the really, really big ones. And then if I was to throw another one out there, I like Hadrosaurus. Let's go with Parasaurolophus. Looks cool. It's got a unique crest on its head.
Oh, fair enough. Is that 4 or is that 5?
I think it's 5.
That's 5. All right. For me, I mean, it's easy too. Albertosaurus, because, you know, I'm Albertan originally. Tyrannosaurus, because, what's the best hockey player of all time? Don't mention Gretzky. Pterodon, chickens. And I don't have a 5th one.
Chickens. Yeah.
Dude, I'm just saying, out of all the dinosaurs, alive or dead, chickens have done more good for me and for humanity than anything else.
Yeah, facts.
Second is raptors, and it's not even close.
Hmm.
I guess I don't really have a fifth one. I want to have a fifth one. I'll probably just say Ankylosaurus because it's nice to have that giant ball and club. And I got a thing of like a Boris Vallejo painting of some chick with her tits hanging out riding one. So why not?
It's interesting about Albertosaurus because yeah, thanks chickens. It's interesting you say Albertosaurus because it's one of the dinosaurs we actually have the most complete skeletons of, including of babies. So there's baby ones of full skeletons.
See, yeah, Canada used to be great. We used to be able to do shit like this. We named a dinosaur. We got all the skeletons together. Now look at us. We're fucked.
It's so over. Yeah.
The only dinosaur we got now is an office.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I see clips of all the time of him getting like shouted down basically everywhere he goes. Is that like a thing?
Yeah. Everywhere. Every city. He can't go anywhere. It's at the point now where RCMP has just started like staging things now. Like he went for the solar eclipse. He got up on the roof of Parliament and he's staring up and then looked down at the crowd. They just muted the audio of him getting booed and they just put cheering in there. But somebody from obviously TikTok's like, dude, I have the footage. It's so bad. I went to a pub and I live downtown Toronto. My riding it's one of those ridings that if you see a Liberal Party of Canada guy who makes something in the party, they just throw him here because it's a guaranteed win. You will win by 50% more votes than the next best parties combined. Fun fact too, our guy also had a Me Too accusation, had to go independent, but he's technically still Liberal. But anyways, whatever. I go down to just some random pub, me and my old lady, and then we were talking and then politics came up. And I always do a thing here where I know there's a lot of people that don't like Trudeau, but are afraid to speak up. So I kind of give like, you're safe here vibe. And this guy's like, yeah, when I'm not working here, I'm a teacher. And the kids all hate him. And I'm like, you guys, like, you're right, but you don't know why. You're just saying it because it's a meme. So, like, yeah, he's lost the teenagers, man. He's lost everybody. Kids don't care about Drag Queen Story Hour. Who'd have thunk?
Yeah, I mean, I just hear nothing but horror stories coming out of Canada from Justin Trudeau.
It's not even. I wish I could say it was evil. That's the thing. I think it's incompetence. I really do. I think it's stupidity, and I think it's ego.
Yeah, I think this is interesting because I kind of take the opposite angle where I think that I think that it's no doubt there is incompetence involved in like all the facets of what we talk about. You know, all of our countries right now are being ruled by definitely incompetent people to an extent. No doubt there's part of that throughout all the social levels and such, but I kind of take the opinion where I think it's more malice than incompetence, simply because you'd think that if it was incompetence, something would go in the direction of the people at least like once, and it really doesn't. Like the default is, oh, everything's just going to get worse. Everything's going to get better for the people in charge, and everything's going to get worse for everyone else. And so that's what makes me think, oh no, they're entirely intentional when they're doing this kind of stuff. It's like what we got going on in the southern border right now in the U.S., where it's just open season and has been for decades at this point. People could just like walk right over, which
see now in fairness, at least they're doing it for free. In Canada, we have to pay to bring them down here. We fly them over. So you see, it's one of those situations where you're like, this is horrible. And I'm like, it was Canada 15 years ago. You're fine. It's going to get so much worse. Once you start paying for it, that's where it starts to hurt.
Yeah, well, it's just, we just have like a lag time just because we have a larger population and a bigger country. Well, actually, like by landmass, you guys are bigger, but there's more people, right? So
yeah. You guys are 10-1 on us.
Yeah, so of course there's going to be a lag time of that, but I mean, you're starting to see it now where like housing prices keep exploding over here in the US, and it's like, oh well, we still need to need to import more and more and more and more migrants, and that's what's crazy. There's been economic studies that have now come out under Biden's administration, and it's something like 65% of all economic growth in the United States under Biden's tenure has gone to immigrants and hasn't gone to heritage Americans. It's like, that's not good.
Well, that's why your housing market's going to be screwed. That's what happens here. So all the immigrants coming over here, they come here, they buy a place. It props up the housing market because the baby boomers are ultimately the ones that are voting for our incumbents, right? And for at least up here, we didn't have a 2008. Because our conservatives actually tempered our banks, but
yeah.
The point is now, with all of these immigrants buying places, they're living 20 to a home out in Brampton, which is kind of crazy. But then the single biggest investment that boomers have for their retirement now is their home. And so they get to retire off of it. Well, the problem is now they're reverse mortgages and they're selling it and moving off and all this stuff. So it's not even like a generational wealth thing. They're spending every dollar. Like everybody I know here who has parents that done well real estate and that, they all are saying the same thing. It's like, my dad argues he thinks I just want his inheritance. So I'm like, no, dad, I just don't want you to spend it and then have 10 more years where I have to support you because I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. And this, I think that's where that's going. But that's it's like, all right, fine, we'll bring in immigrants. They'll pay for this stuff. Because there's a lot of them. They move here for 2 years. They live the Canadian dream. They find out it's actually pretty shitty and they leave. There's a new YouTube niche of like guys who moved here in 2019 bitching about Canada now. And I'm like, I'm offended, but they're not wrong.
I don't care what kind of mental gymnastics or what needs to be done. We just need to repatriate people from our nations and from our countries. I don't care if they do it willingly. I don't care if it's through force. It doesn't matter. It needs to be done.
I think
the West is full.
Do it.
Yeah.
Get a couple colognes over here. You know what I mean? Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because let's face it. That's what happens. What's moved this whole like the gaming thing? Like Warhammer's now woke, and this is all woke. Every single time, what is it that happens? Some chick gets in there and then starts exerting her will with pressure and shaming tactics. It's very clear that women are like the tip of the spear, and if you could wield that power, which I think is arguably why a lot of these thirsty guys keep trying to like, if we bring more women into the red pill, we can have all the power. And it's like, well, I don't trust you with that power, you thirsty fuck.
Well, the other thing too is that like so much of it is, it'd be one thing if these guys were successful with chicks and they come like from a rational perspective, like somebody like Bronze Age Pervert will talk about this. He'll talk about like courtesans and geishas and other things like throughout our ancestral past where like women were in charge to some degree. The West. Yeah, well, he's talking about how he's talking about how to some degree women were involved with decision-making processes. And it's like, okay, yeah, I could get behind that. You know, they have a different perception of the world. Perhaps there are many issues where their opinions are valid and we should probably be listening to them. But the problem is that growing up in the West these days, I mean, this is something we talk about all the time in these RP circles, is that guys are trained from day one to see women as positions of authority. And this is what I see way more than from like a tactical perspective. Like, oh, you know what? Maybe we should listen to what the women have to say. If they're going to be part of this thing, you know, they're one half of our species and we kind of got to fuck them in order to keep the, you know, whole civilization going. And, you know, at the end of the day, guys like women and we enjoy them. So maybe we should be talking to them. But so often than not, it's like, you know, it's kind of like how Pearl is the acceptable person to have on Piers Morgan to talk about how women shouldn't have the right to vote. It's like, why isn't a man ever there? Well, it's like, well,
and then when they do get a man,
like women are safe. Yeah. It's like, because women are the positions of authority. Women are the ones that are allowed to talk about these things. Well, and that's the issue I see.
It's a huge issue. And that's the thing, right? It'll all be solved if guys just knew how to get laid. And it sounds so, everybody's like, it's not so simple. I'm like, it kind of is, because it's that keystone and everything kind of develops from there. The whole idea of like, if you were the kind of guy who got laid, like case in point, Rollo. I love Rollo. Love him to death. And, you know, he's kind of doing like a lot of the blood sport stuff that everybody else is doing, a little bit of gossipy, and that's fine. I'm like, you've done enough work for free. Cash out, man. But you see the difference between him and then a guy like, I don't know, who's a thirsty guy online that's doing similar stuff to him. I mean, who isn't? And you see them blowing up. They're going to jail. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're getting nuked.
They're knocking up Chinese hoes.
Knocking up Chinese hoes. Meanwhile, Rollo, wife, a kid, he's red pilled. He deals with like liquor girls. He knows what he's doing. Doesn't make any mistakes. He just does his business and he grows every year. Like that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about here with this stuff. And I think that's probably why they wanted to make you president. Because you just weren't thirsty and you weren't a gamma male when somebody started busting your balls a bit. You took it as a little bit of camaraderie like anybody else would.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's just so important to kill your ego with so much of this stuff. It's like, listen, I'm the president of a very niche online company that takes you know, donations from people, and I don't even take a salary from this. I just have to fill out my K1s on my taxes, and I'm looking at like my portion of the profits, and like, yeah, I'm not living high on this, you know.
Oh, The gay lube oil with his stupid, I do a Reddit post once a month. I'll forever, that is burned in my head as like the ultimate in like, if you're going to cash out, if you're going to sell out, like sell out for money. Don't just do it for the first. Anthony Johnson, another great example. His company, I don't know if you know like a lot of the history, but like his company was going bankrupt. He had a GoFundMe for his 21 convention, or sorry, the convention that shall not be named. And then Rolo was like, hey, I like this. We'll come in. I'll bring in some red pill people. And it was like half red pills, half pickups. That's where I got my start. And then his first year, he was making $100,000. And he's like, holy shit, this is great. It's successful. Second year, another 100,000. Third year, he's like, I'm not the most popular guy in this room. And he just nuked it all because he didn't get to be in charge. He didn't get to be the coolest guy there. He just got to be the guy who earned all the money from it and had all the IP at the end. And that wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it's like, well, what are you there for? Are you there for the notoriety, or are you there for the actual function of the space, like the mission statement? And
and it kills me too, because you never really see it in people until they get a chance to exert any type of power over somebody. So by then it's almost too late. You kind of have to develop. I want to call it gaydar, but it's more than gay. It's horrible. It's fake and gay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's a new way we're gonna have to start judging people you interact with these days. You know, like
which you can't do nowadays. The hippies won on that front. Judging is the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just find myself like the more and more time I spend on Twitter, which I fucking love Twitter. I know everyone hates it, but I've been on Twitter for like a decade. I just love it because I've done such a good job of curating my feed. I feel like maybe 2,000 people blocked at this point, something like that. I block at least like 1 or 2 people a day on it.
I'm impressed.
But, it's just the more and more time I spend on Twitter, the less time I want to spend on other social media platforms and such. Like I have like a private Instagram account and stuff I have for like the women and stuff like that. But it's just like I post on there maybe like once a year at this point. Like I don't want like parts of my life out there on the internet anymore. Yeah. Really. It's just,
I'm with you. I gave up on Instagram. Facebook, I used to go on once a year. I don't even do that anymore. I can't. I lost my password and now they want my driver's license to get it back. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no way. It's just, I want to spend way more time like in the actual real with people who want to spend time in the real. And this is like it can be a problem too. Like when you're dating, like particularly like these younger chicks who are just fucking obsessed with like TikTok and Instagram and taking pictures of everything. It's like, do we really need to be doing that? And I don't know, like there's other angles to take with this too. It's like, I don't know, like at this point, man, it might even be worse if you're like a Twitter e-girl than being an OnlyFans whore. I'm serious at this point, because like the obsession with social media and the impact that like any other woman who's anywhere else in the world and she's having a problem, so therefore it has to become your problem at this exact second. It's like, for fuck's sake, just put down the fucking phone.
I take it somebody asked you, would you still love them if they were a worm? Yeah.
I love that meme.
Actually, the one thing that's nice though about having to do branding on this with my girl, when she sees stuff, I kind of let her in on the inside scoop. Like, that's AstroTurf for this reason, that's for this reason. Most people don't have that sophisticated media literacy, and so yeah, I see a lot of people having arguments over nothing. I'm with Nuke too, where he talks about like social media for women is the equivalent of porn to men.
Yeah,
and all of this whole porn, porn addiction and porn is ruining men's lives. I think it's largely projection. I think they're taking their social media addictions and they're just flipping it around. What's the guy version?
I don't know.
But that's what I mean. Like, what's the guy version? It's porn. Okay. Well, porn is ruining men. It's causing them to ignore their husbands. It's like, dude.
Like, is it?
Is it? I don't see guys fingering their phone on porn for 5 hours a day. I'm just saying. They may be playing video games, but they still have an ear listening to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like the whole I guess like the whole podcast sphere, I guess, might be something equivalent to that. Like, guys will just listen to hours and hours of stuff, and whether it's like Red Pill podcasts or whether it's political stuff, or listen to hours of Tim Pool talking about the next Civil War.
Do people really do that? Like, is he really that big?
I think he has to be. I mean, he gets like 20,000 people per live stream watching his show. I mean,
fuck me, man.
I don't know how. I don't think he has any, super interesting takes. I mean, and I've heard the same thing from absolutely everybody who's gone on Tim Pool's show, whether it's Rollo, whether it's like my other political friends, no matter who goes on Tim Pool's show, they all say the same. They fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And that's got to tell you something, right?
Thank you, by the way, Greenlight, for a heartfelt enjoy the decline in FU. part of me wonders, remember that whole thing he had where, was it his two co-hosts, they had a board meeting and they tried to kick him out?
Like,
I'm almost wondering if they were like, if they're not the villains in this story. Maybe it was like, yeah, this Tim, I hate Tim. I hate Tim. I hate his fucking beanie. I hate his Vice News stories. I hate all this stuff. Let's get him out of here. Then we can start talking about revolution again.
Yeah, the other thing too is that my friend Oran McIntyre has gone on his show like once or twice, and basically every time when he tries to go and quote unquote like red pill the masses or something and say something remotely interesting, and actually talk about legitimately how politics is done, like Tim will just cut him off and immediately bring him back like onto the plantation. It's like, no, we can't talk about that. We got to talk about Trump again or something stupid.
Dude, that's funny how people were, I hate TV. They just tell you what to think on their Bill O'Reilly and shit. And then when they go on to social media where the influencers are like, I'm going to talk to Tim Pool where we can be free and open.
Yeah.
That's where we're at now.
Within the terms of service. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the 50-50 cotton poly blend of punditry. Instead of having the nice cotton shirt, the Bill O'Reillys. Now it's the same thing. It's just shittier. Shittier and less interesting, but that's the authenticity of it. Red Bull sold millions. Why? Because it tastes worse than pop. And that's like, well, it must be good for me. It tastes like shit. Tim Pool is the Red Bull of politics.
Yeah, there's just nothing interesting that comes out of the guy. And I don't understand why he's got just such a huge big following among like millennials. I guess it's just because like, he's like the first like millennial reporter or something. And he's just been riding the coattails of that, I guess.
You know what's funny? I was talking with Adosa Buckley. He's a Canadian content creator out here. He's been around for years. How hard would it be for YouTube to do things like just add an extra 0 to Tim Pool's watch count, or to take away 10% of your views, and nobody would know? And part of me wonders, like when I see stuff like this where it just doesn't, like, how is this the most popular thing ever? It makes no sense. And I'm like, maybe it doesn't, and maybe it's not. How many channels do you watch right now that have like 250,000 subscribers on YouTube? I go to their live streams, they got like 50 viewers. I'm like, how is this place with our 200 people 4 times as popular as your giant ass channel? I've seen you on like broadcast news. Or this one was my favorite. There's been a few examples of it, but there was this one New York Times best-selling author. She went and did a book signing, and I was talking with Ed Lattimore over it. Nobody came to her book signing in New York City. And I'm like, bro, I could get a half a dozen people to show up at a Indigo if I needed to. It's like, what the hell?
Well, yeah, it's like how it's like the journalists over at like Kotaku, like talking about like the next like video game drama or something, and then you look at their Twitter profiles.
Gamergate too.
Yeah, and it's like they got less followers than I do, and I'm just like an anonymous hawk who tweets about like race and shit on my timeline and red pill stuff, and okay, you're like the authority on this topic apparently. Now I have to listen to you.
And that's the thing. Like, how much of this really is fake? How much of this is as Rob says, a Potemkin village? I'd argue so much of it is. This has been my red pill stance on people. It's like, don't listen to us audiophiles bitching about wham and this and sex dolls that. Like, if you can't touch it, I don't think you can treat it as if it exists nowadays. We're truly in the kayfabe generation, and that's everything. Like dating. Yeah. Oh, dude, if you got the wrong iPhone, you're gonna get the ick. It's like, no, you're not.
What the fuck? How did anyone fall for that shit?
Dude, I got laid with a I can't remember what the brand was. I want to say Windows Phone. It had a stylus, and it clicked up like the Matrix did. You know those ones like the first generation of smartphones? It was like, yeah, that one. And not only that, it was great on the dates because like you would be thinking like, who's that guy from that movie? I'll look it up. Bam, I'm in there. You mean to tell me? Oh, the bubble is green. I can't do this. Like, come on.
No.
Oh, here's all vaporware. Follow me back, bro. Yeah, all this stuff. Although I will say this, there's some advantage of it with, like you were saying, people filming everything. There was a Nicki Minaj concert a couple days ago, and the TikTok footage is coming back. Do you remember? Well, do you know? Did your dad ever tell you in the 80s when there was like concerts playing, people would take their lighters and flick them up?
Yeah.
And then you see like all the lights. People are now, because everybody's filming the fucking thing.
Oh my God.
The phone screens are doing it. So it's like, it's almost like a high-tech version of going to a Rush concert in the 80s now. It's not all bad.
You know, I gotta give credit to our friend Jack Napier for this, because about a year ago, I was over in Europe, and I met him over there in the Netherlands, and you know, we were sitting down
Oh,
having our
was that
lunch
the
and
one where
such.
you went there with the big fucking cowboy hat and the giant belt buckle? You went
Oh,
full American.
oh fuck yeah! I was so chauvinistic when I was over there. I was loving every minute of it, and you know, a lot of the Dutch girls were happy to talk to a genuine American cowboy. You know, so that was fun. But I'm sitting there with Jack, and I'm like, hey,
And I find out you're like from Cincinnati or something. That would be even funnier.
yeah. And I'm sitting there with Jack, and I'm like, hey, do you mind if I tweet out a picture of you? And he's like, no, I'd rather you not. And that really stuck with me, because it's like, yeah, you know what? People don't need to know like so much about my personal life online. Well,
Yeah.
and that was a good formative moment for me, because I'm like, yeah,
Oh, you'd have got it eventually. You'd have got it eventually. There's that chick that just last week, the one who was giving birth and going into labor, and she was
oh my
tweeting
god,
brand shit. Somebody in her chat's like, "Aren't you in labor right now?" It's like, "Shut up, I'm trying."
oh my god, like,
And the worst part is like her tweets weren't even about her giving birth and the process, like informative. She was
no,
just doing regular branding shit. Fucking red
yeah.
pill guys did something else. One sec, have to push.
Yeah, it's like, are you gonna tweet out the next time you're trying to make a baby? You know, it's
Yeah.
like, what part of your life is
But
you
that's
know,
the people aren't doing that for porn. People are doing that for social media. Steven Crowder, horrible divorce, taking all his money. What do they think to do? Let's videotape this shit. Let's have a big argument over whether women deserve to pick up dog shit or not. God, I'm here for that moment too. That was wonderful. I love that we have like a big primetime example of a guy who did all the right traditional conservative things, still got fucked.
literally
And then
wrote
not
the
only got
fucking
fucked,
article. Yeah.
yeah. And not only that, just nobody even has the self-awareness to realize they're doing exactly that. They're like, they turned on him, they taken her side 100%.
Hmm.
And then you're wondering why guys, yeah. And then because you tweeted, I was like a month later on this one. I hate how social media is 5 social media sites retweeting others, the
Hmm.
rest of them for screenshots, where you were like, yeah, why am I going to join this church when the church is basically pulling a Steven Crowder and shit like this? Some chick basically called you an incel as the response to that.
Yeah.
Well, just church harder, dude. You'll be fine. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
won't. I just watched a guy get raked over the coals. That's the exact issue I'm having. She's like,
Hmm.
shut up, nerd.
Yeah. It's like people don't. I don't know. I guess they just think that like men can't see with their own eyes as to like what's going on, or don't
Well, that's
have
how
any.
gaslighting works, right? You just got to keep
Yeah.
repeating the lie.
Yeah.
I guess Pat Stemman, I'm curious your thoughts. I actually agree with Chesties in chat. I'm not going to post it up there because I don't want to put her on blast or anything. But how come Pearl blew up when Torsia didn't? When Torsia's got the giant tits and is a more cheerleader like look?
Uh.
What are your thoughts on that?
I you know, I think part of it is that I think the fact that Pearl is so mid probably helps her, uh, uh, go over a little bit more, so to speak. It's like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like a safe target to be talking to, because she's not, super fucking hot. But I think the other thing too is that I don't see Tori like saying remotely as like ridiculous things as like outrage bait as like Pearl does, right? Like,
Yeah.
or Torchia's not
Oh,
talking to Nick
wasn't that
Fuentes
how
or
she made her
anything.
career at first? Was just a year bitching about fat black chicks. She just stole Tony Sotomayor's stick. And then black Twitter catches you. That's like instant
Yeah,
virality.
there you go. Going to the stratosphere, just just
Yeah.
recording them,
But that's my take, kind of same as yours. So there's this guy, Donnie Benet. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of this guy, but once you will, you'll be hooked. He is a musician. And like you click the link, you go to the thing, you look at the guy. Does he look like a musician in 2024? No.
Hold on.
Yeah, click. It's worth.
Yeah, I'm pulling him up. Hold on. He looks like Ron Jeremy.
Yeah. But that's the thing, right? He's so ugly, but he has like everybody's like he's like that guy in GTA 2. He looks like the guy who did the Miami Vice theme song, sort of, only balder. And he just kind of rolls with it. And I think people like ugly things now because polished
It's
things are
authentic.
perfect. Yeah, and it's supposed to be authentic. It's the same as Red Bull. Red Bull tastes like shit. Well, that's why I like it, because it means it's giving me health and caffeine. No, it just tastes like shit. And people are equating quality with artificiality and astroturf. So now
Mhm.
everybody's learning you can lie with ugliness. And it doesn't hurt that he slaps, like his bass work is just fucking amazing. If you listen to his songs,
Hmm.
like Multiply, Konnichiwa, fucking awesome. Music videos are great. Music is great. And it's like those 80s saxophone, like solos in there. I'm going to see him in concert end of the month. I'm like, that's how hooked I am on this guy. And I didn't know he existed 6 months ago.
Nice. Yeah, maybe there
So I
is
think that's why
something.
Pearl's doing better, because she's ugly. It's not that she's mid. She's ugly. She was fat. She's tall. She's goofy. She hates her dad. She Me Too'd her coach. Like there is no redeeming quality in there at all. And it's amazing. And I think that's why people watch it, because then it's authentic, which is, it's not sincere, but authentic is good enough. And at the same time, they also get to feel righteous, like, oh, at least I'm better than that bitch. That the red-haired goblin.
Well, that's certainly why she gets all the attention from the other women.
Sorry to cut you off. Dave sold me off.
Dave's a good guy. People should subscribe. He does a fun video game podcast.
Goddamn right. Yeah, scarred thumbs. I'm a fan of it. I never thought I'd be a fan of those things, because every other video game podcast that talks about industry and stuff is boring as shit.
Oh yeah. You're gonna listen to Jeremy from the Quartering give you a 15-minute video with 10 minutes of ads. Yeah.
Oh, is he that bad? He's not even. See, he lost me after the 17th Captain Marvel video, and then talk about his new shed. I'm like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm tired of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's like inserted himself into like the politics thing, talking about Steven Crowder and Tim Pool and giving his 2 cents about it, which is like, again, like, why are we focusing on the inner squabbles between, okay, yeah, Steven Crowder is apparently a shitty employer to work for. All right, I don't care. There's 10 million migrants that just came over the border this month. Like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and the institution of marriage as we know it now is a dead hulking corpse that's just financial, like, ruin for so many guys. Like, there's a ton of productive places you can take that, and they don't. And I would argue that's a talent thing. I think that's another reason why Pearl did well. Because she actually, as much as I hate her, she has some talent. Like, she understands what to attach to, at least. I just wish she would put that in a more positive direction other than hating her dad.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely knows how to play the social media game, for better or for worse.
And I think that's the one good thing about this, at least. Like, imagine if all of these Talking Head, Con Inc., or like TradCon chicks and Cake Tits and all, imagine if they all had talent. Like, I'm so grateful for the Pareto principle right now that they're all nobodies along with the rest of us.
No.
If they had real power, we'd be so screwed.
Yeah, I mean,
what's that? A beer hall putsch? I'm probably gonna fuck up the history on it.
Yep.
You're a historian, that son of a bitch. You got me asking questions.
Yeah. What books were they really burning? Yeah. But there's
fuck you. Specifically that. That's what. Because some idiot was talking about that, and that's like, my internet rules. No talking about damsel in electioneer. No talking about the Austrian painter. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, the book burning this and the book burning that. And then I think it was you was like, hey, which books did they burn? And I'm like, yeah, that's a good question. What books did they burn? I looked it up. I'm like, you fucking guys. Son of a bitch.
Yeah, but it's...
Wait a minute. 6 numbers on the tattoo?
I'd say...
You know what I mean? Now I'm doing it for memes. I don't really care on this. Like, yeah, guys, I'm joking. I'm just fucking around. But like, you know what?
Exactly. But it's like, I hate when people are edgy just for edginess sake. Which,
oh, my bad.
well,
I get what you're saying. You're talking about like the Fuentes things.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. You all right? You want to make well, I don't know. We can get off this topic. I want to, jump down this.
Well, I mean, it's still it's audience capture though. Same as you were talking before. They're calling us red pill guys the bad guys. Well, I'll show them. I'll go be a bad guy. And I'm like, that's not a very, like, we got to have frame. They can call us whatever the fuck they want. I'm just gonna be me.
Exactly.
But the guys who like lean into it's like, well, now I'm gonna be the ancient evil liberal Democrat. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the villain.
Some nagging stalker mom change who you are fundamentally by pissing you off a little bit. And to argue with the Fuentes thing, he's a good example of what happens when you don't listen to that. And that's just, like, obviously nobody likes him, but people like not liking him.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this before. Like, the guy did some genuine good work in like 2017, 2019, making fun of Daily Wire types. And then he just became an asshole and is basically doxed everyone he's ever worked with. And yeah, then I wouldn't associate with the guy at all at this point.
That's the other thing with thirsty guys that gets me, like the doxing thing. How many people here don't even bother to like vet who they're working with or who they decide to be friends with? And it's not even like, do they follow the same? It's just, what have they done in the past? Like right now, I still see people working with Anthony Johnson. I'm like, have you seen how he's treated? Like we actually have in the RAR squad a poster of everybody from that convention that shall not be named with an X crossed through them if ADJ went all spurgy on them and started like doxing their family and shit.
It's like nobody left.
Yeah, there's like 2 people left. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
the Deadpool, right?
Yeah, the Deadpool. Exactly, the Deadpool.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that one example, and I kind of remember that. And then you start noticing it's everywhere. I used to think it was just the red pill space was horrible, and I'm like, no, every space is just like this. The Warhammer space is like this. BattleTech is like this. Your conservative space is like this. The Tekken video game space is like this. Of all the things, a bunch of Japanese anime waifu 3D punching each other out are sitting here having the exact same problems. Some guy put out a giant Google document, 10 pages long, defending himself from a Me Too accusation from some nobody chick content creator that doesn't even speak English. I was like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, for such a group of guys that are constantly talking about the infamous book, The 48 Laws of Power, I mean, a lot of people don't seem to take to heart, avoid the unhappy and the unlucky, right?
Oh, God. You know, it's like the Bible. I love the Bible. How much have you read? I have it in the desk. I didn't really look at it. Like,
yeah. Credit for trying, for trying to read it.
Meanwhile, the guy with the dog named after Christopher Hitchens is sitting here telling like, you got that scripture piece wrong, sir.
Well, that's it. Okay, so I guess we can go off on this, right? It's like, okay, I grew up in a Tricon household and a Tricon background, going to Catholic schools and church every Sunday, right?
Catholic? I was going to ask what denomination. Technically, Southern Baptist.
So, well, I got a double dosage because I was baptized Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic, so I got both.
Those are. I always think they're the same thing. I feel bad. They're not, are they?
No, they're not. They've got some severe differences. So it's kind of like I don't know. I guess I get to choose which one I like more, apparently. But anywho,
and the Andrew guy, he's the Orthodox one, right?
I guess I've never watched a single thing of Andrew's content ever. I've just seen like the clips on Twitter and such, and I remember talking to him on Rule Zero once, and I just wasn't really impressed because it's just again basic like normie con. Yeah, well, it's just like basic bitch, like normie con, conservative con, talking points. It's like, well, we need to, the thing that's the biggest issue we're facing right now in the West is the population collapse, and we need to have people, breed more and have more kids. I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here on the other side, like, dude, there's already way too many fucking people. Like that, I don't care that a bunch of boomers aren't going to get social security checks. I need to be able to afford a house, sir.
Yeah,
but it's just like that one. It's like a meme of what you're supposed to care about and what you're supposed to talk about. It's like the population is going down. Is that necessarily a bad thing? I like that. I don't really think so. I mean, like we all understand the concepts of markets expanding and contracting and such. I mean, I think population decline, if you look throughout history, is basically the same thing, right? So
I think the only argument I've heard in favor that it's kind of convincing to me is like there's X amount of people that are going to be the geniuses that move things forward. And with a bigger population, you have more of them in total, even though the per capita amount stays the same. So the idea if the population declines, the amount of talented people out of the next generation is just going to be a smaller number. I'm like, okay, I get that. But then I'm thinking, like, are we at the innovation stage or are we kind of at the maintenance stage? Like, do we really need, like, we went to space. How far do we need to go to Mars too? Maybe. Not yet. Plus the fact that the population was 1 billion people until 100 years ago, and then it jumped up to 8 billion. And oh my God, it's going to drop to 6. It doesn't sound like quite the collapse we're making it out to.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, well, I guess it also depends on which groups are the ones expanding and declining, but we won't get into that here.
It's one of the continents in the middle, boys. I'll just say that and leave it there.
Yeah. So I mean,
actually, they're the only ones left. Everybody else is below replacement. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. Everyone could just go read Camp of the Saints. That's all I have to say. But
that's not what's his face? Is it Evola?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
We don't bring up the E guy.
No, no, and I understand because like the whole entire like online dissonant right sphere has been totally captured by a lot of particularly like European guys have been captured with like Evola for the last couple of years, and it's like Evola said certain things about America and how it's like it's been blackified. The entire country's blackified. It's like, dude, Evola never even set foot in America in his entire fucking life.
He wasn't even a good fascist. He was Italian. It's like, come on.
I do think it's kind of a Chad move though when he was on trial after Mussolini's execution. He said, "You know what? I'm a super fascist. you can't try me here. I don't even agree with these guys. These guys are too soft.
Went all sovereign citizen on them, eh?"
Yeah, I mean, it worked for him. It worked for him. He didn't serve any prison time, so
really?
He got
Good
off.
for him.
Yeah. But anywho, so back to the track on such. Yeah, so it's like, okay, they throw off this very like, I guess you'd call it like 21st century, almost like social media-fied version of like the church and everything. And it's like they basically just whittle it down to all Christianity is about is basically being nice. It's like I want more of the fire and brimstone stuff, and you just don't get any of that from any of these Tricon people. It's all like turn the other cheek, and you can't use power, and you can't say like mean things about anybody
that's not
else.
Christian. That's the hippies.
Yeah.
Where the worst thing you could do is judge somebody, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like they're so locked into their own convictions, and their convictions come from a false premise anyway. But because their identity is all wrapped up in being the good Christian, and then here's me, who isn't exactly the most religious guy, doesn't go to mass on Sundays and such like this. And how is it I know more about the stuff that you're proclaiming to be preaching? How's it that I know more about this stuff than you do? And it's not even part of my brand or anything like this. And then I'm the bad guy for pointing out your bullshit and calling you out on it. And it's like, oh my God, you're trying to, destroy the Christianity that was like major building and founding stock of the West. And I'm like, okay, I can't even talk to you.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Since Greek times, the Plato's cave guys, the ones who went outside and saw real life, they came back, told the guys that the shadows were just fake. They killed those guys. So it's kind of, and I get it. Nailing yourself to the cross is like the new Christian thing anyway, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Same as all this stuff. I mean, that's what he was doing. He was flipping moneylenders' tables, and they're like, all right, this guy's got to go.
Yeah.
Write him out to the Romans. Little Ben Shapiro Judas there. Actually, I shouldn't be making these kind of jokes. Never mind. They're glorious people, and Judas did nothing wrong.
Well, here's the other thing. It's like there are now Republican governors. We were covering this on the old.
Is that the Cyclops guy you're talking about?
Well, he's one of them, but he's more of like the, he's never found a war for Israel he doesn't like. But but there's this like strain of Republican governors now, and like one of the most egregious ones was South Dakota, right? And I've met this woman before, the governor there, Kristi Noem, right, who recently was found out she got into an affair with one of Trump's staffers. Okay. And when I met her and her husband several years ago, I was not surprised when I heard this news at all, because she's doing the thing like parading the husband around on a leash. Like when like women will like trying to insert their husband into the conversation, like he's their like he's her pet basically.
Like he's a set of Louboutins. Yeah, I know the one.
Yeah. So I was not surprised by this, but anywho, she passed this bill recently where it's like the Stop Anti-Semitism Act or whatever. And mind you, in South Dakota, there's only like 300 Jews in the entire state. That are like actually registered.
So you could actually like name names and make a list and like just
pretty much. Well, apparently
people shall not be attacked.
Well, apparently she got every single one in the state to be there for the signing, because they had like a big photo of like everyone there for the signing of this bill, and it was like 150 people in the room or whatever. But I digress. But basically, in that law, it is now illegal to say that the Jews killed Christ. Like that is an that is an anti-Semitic offense. And it's like.
And you guys wasted like litigation time and time in your state house on this?
Yeah, apparently. And this is happening in multiple states, multiple Republicans, because they're all captured by, we can't say anything bad about the certain group. And like,
it's even worse than that, though. Like I was talking about this with Adam Kriegler on his Basis Fuck Monday, that how they put the 10 Commandments in one of the churches, I think Louisiana or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, out of all the things your legislature could be doing, this is what they decided to burn political capital and God knows, probably a year's worth of time on.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why
I don't know what your crimes are like out there, but like down here, we have crime waves going, auto theft. We just had an Ocean's 11 $20 million gold heist.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about this. Yeah, I saw you tweeting about this. Well, you have it in Chicago right now. Is we were covering this on the show a couple weeks ago. So 2 years ago, the city of Chicago was getting a lawsuit against Hyundai because Hyundai wasn't having enough safety features or anti-theft features in their cars. So they're trying to sue the companies instead of actually dealing with the criminals. And they're now about to sue Glock because Glock, like has a feature where it's very easy. You could turn any Glock into full auto because
with that little piece that you can 3D print or something.
Yeah, they're called switchies. Yeah, and basically Chicago is trying to sue Glock for the fact that their guns have the ability for them to be switched into full autos. And if you know anything about guns, any gun that can go semi-automatic wants to go full auto. It's actually harder to engineer the gun to become semi-automatic than full auto.
The first round goes through the chamber.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually harder to do. Rifle training.
Yeah, it's harder to do. It's harder to make a semi-automatic gun than the full auto one. So now they're like, okay, we have to change the entire patent and the entire design of this gun, all because Chicago doesn't want to get criminals off the streets. It's clown world. But again, this is what I get back to, where I think it's malice as opposed to incompetence. The purpose of the system is what it does, right? And
that I agree with. But this is where I say it's probably incompetence. Because obviously, if you have like a stupid worldview, like the whole woke shit, everybody kind of believes that like criminals are good people, whatever. They're doing it up here. I don't think it's the case that these people are malicious. I just think that malicious people see an opportunity to bandwagon off of it. Because I've had this argument with Rollo a bunch too. When you see the same thing with Trudeau with the convoy strikes, the big thing during the Canadian convoy is he did nothing for 3 weeks. He just sat there hoping it would go away. And that's pretty incompetent. And then what happened? Well, he had to panic because it was costing him votes. So he sent in the stormtroopers. So totally an evil act, but based out of incompetence. And this is kind of like, maybe it's just a Canadian thing, but that's the trend I see. And then a lot of people who want to be stormtroopers seem to latch onto this stuff and love being there for it. It's like, it's great. It'd be kind of like all of a sudden if somebody started doing the things you're talking about in your country, kicking migrants out and that, a lot of people like you would be there for it. And you're like, now it's my time to shine. I think it's just the system is what it does, and that draws the kind of people who are attracted to it. Which I guess it's the same thing. It's just a more convoluted way of saying it. So
well, fair enough. I guess it's like a chicken or the egg thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, so who knows? I mean, but it's not looking good, on the macro, throughout the entire West. But that doesn't mean everything is going to hell in a handbasket on the micro, right?
Yeah,
I mean, there's still macro. Yeah, exactly. There's still plenty of ways for people to thrive, which is also why I don't want to be like doomed or black-pilled or so like it's over or whatever. Like even if like the USA,
realism. You're realistically assessing the situation.
Yeah, like even if like the USA goes like belly up in my lifetime, which very well might be a possibility. I mean, that doesn't mean like I'm going to go belly up. I mean, like the empires and nations rise and fall all the fucking time. There's probably been like 10,000 since recorded history, right? I mean, something else is going to rise. Something else will come around.
Oh, well, this is where Canada can finally come in to help you out. Do you know Ginger Gal on Twitter?
Vaguely familiar, yeah.
Okay, Canadian girl. She's here, married, whatever. COVID stuff came and they started to mandate jabs for people. Horrible situation. Her and her husband decided, fuck it, we're out of here. They went down to Costa Rica. They built their own home and they're building their own life.
Wow.
10% of naturalized Canadians are expatriated right now.
Wow.
That means 1 out of 10 Canadians can't stand this fucking place. How funny is that, huh? I'd argue that's kind of the way ahead. I know Peter Hitchens and your boy Sargon were arguing about this. We're like, how do we fix? I want to fix everything. He's like, don't fix it. Fuck off. Yeah. That's the only solution. I kind of agree. And I think this is where a lot of people have the pushback because a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is the argument between globalism and nationalism, right? And expatriation is essentially a globalist stance. But arguably, like the people that are in your place don't want to fix things. They want to make things worse. And the people that want to make things happen aren't in any position to do so. So what else, like what options do you have? You have to kind of pick between the best of a worst set of options. In this case, go to where you're treated better, I think is probably a better one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a compatriot of mine who is in Vancouver. Guy's handle is Liquid Swan on Twitter. And at one of our conferences last year, he gave a speech about expatriating, and his big deal is like, oh yeah, maybe we should looking into places like Paraguay or Brazil or Argentina and stuff
El
like that.
Salvador is offering free citizenship. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
I saw
Oh, no,
that.
paid. They're going to pay for your citizenship paperwork in that.
Yeah, I saw that. Like with all like the Peter Thiel guys, apparently they're trying to build some kind of island nation off the like on the Caribbean side, like on the coast or something like that, and they're
Oh, was that the whole
developing
where
the
they take
hell
the
out of
oil
it.
rig and make its own country thing?
Yeah,
Kinda like
something
that?
like that. I don't know. It might be an island or maybe it's man-made. I don't know all the details, but I just know there's a couple of my guys that are interested in it. I mean, it's impossible to know everything that's going on, right? You know, I just like am vaguely aware of all these things that are going on. But yeah, I mean, well, I guess like the other angle you could take on that as well is like, well, that's like a soft form of colonialism based, but you know, going into somewhere else, which is fine by me.
But that's the globalism was only ever about 5 things. It was the free flow of, I'm stealing this from Dr. Thomas Barnett, free flow of capital, free flow of energy, free flow of food, free flow of labor. And the 5th one was, I want to say water, but I could be mistaken. No, security. Security was already handled in the 40s. That's when America became the world police and you had free trade, all from the shipping lanes, that kind of thing. Free flow of oil kind of came out of that. Free flow of capital was easy enough. Financial stuff has been, leaps and bounds since then. That was the last one, was the free flow of labor. And this is where you're seeing expatriation become a thing, unchecked immigration is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
So now that it's here, like you might as well take advantage of it. What's going to benefit you?
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely an argument to be made for that. I think the problem with all of that as it relates to everything is just there's almost always an assumption of egalitarianism that comes along with that, and it's just simply not the case. Like groups of people are different. You're going to get different results. Like, I mean, look at this. We just spent 20 years in Afghanistan, trillions of dollars at this point, and hundreds of thousands of lives, including millions of innocent Iraqis' lives as well, I might add.
Just to fund ISIS.
Yeah, and we got fuck all from it. Literally nothing.
You got the memes, though. There's that waifu pillow that got stabbed by the ISIS guys.
Yeah.
There's that spirit, what's that? The spirit Halloween at the end. My favorite meme out of all this is when the choppers are taken out of the embassy, and now there's a spirit Halloween sign on it.
Or like it was like the videos of like the Taliban guys in their AKs riding a bunch of bumper cars, because I guess there's like a theme park that got put up or some shit.
Cream, all that stuff. It's just funny as hell.
Yeah, but I mean, like how could you possibly think that you were going to turn like Afghanistan into like a suburb of America? Like,
they weren't. How many people made millions of dollars out of that whole attempt, though? Like, there's a couple of believers, I'm sure. Like, probably
again, this is why I think it's malice. You know, they saw an opportunity. They went out of their way. They lied to the American people. They lied to the entire world, the UN Security Council. I mean, you know, I don't know if there were Canadians that died over there, but I know there were Brits that died.
170, Canadians died there.
Yeah. So they fucking lied to everybody to make some money and screw over basically everybody else. So it's like, okay, well, who is this globalism like really benefiting at the end of the day? I mean, like people are unhappier than they ever have been. You know, like basic commodities continue to go up in price. We were promised all this cheap labor and all these cheap goods and everything. And it's like, well, the Chinese goods are shit. They break all the time. You have to replace them every 5 minutes. They're over-engineered pieces of shit. Like, you know, my fucking fridge has to connect to Wi-Fi now. You know, it's like, are we really benefiting from this stuff? Like, who is benefiting?
Yeah. But I mean, that's the thing. It's not going to change. And the reason I was saying it wasn't malicious is because it was something Danny California. I don't know if you remember her. She was on the channel once and she brought up how hot chicks were always like ruining guys' lives and shit like that. And she goes, I know these girls. They don't. It's not that they like, you don't care about stepping on ants. That's why I don't think it's malice. I don't think they're aware that people are suffering because you're in your wonderful home and your gated community and everybody's talking the same thing and everybody benefited from the war on terror. It's the same thing as Trudeau. He doesn't know people can't afford homes because his home just got a $5 million re-thing. All of his cronies are doing well. All of his core voter base is doing awesome because government workers are the government employees and his voter base are like the exact same people. It's a 100% overlap. And so he's like, yeah, they just got a 20% raise. They just got this. They just got that. Of course they're happy. And it's like, yeah, everybody else isn't though.
Yeah.
But entirely our need to like shut out any type of outgroup. I don't think they're just aware that this misery even exists. That's why I think it's incompetence.
It could be. It's entirely possible. I question.
That's why. Sorry. And that's why I'm saying you're the optimist. Because if a guy is evil and he's fucking you over, that can be reasoned with. He can be appealed to. You can't appeal to
or
incompetence.
dealt with.
Or dealt with. Yeah, incompetence.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who fucks up through stupidity, you can't fix that. He doesn't even think
Mm.
he's doing anything wrong.
Mm.
Like, how do you can't reason with it. You can't reason with stupid. And that's why I am much more pessimistic about this, because it's just like there is nothing you can do short of go on boogaloo. And I like my real estate, so I'm not going to boogaloo. So
well,
that's where we're at.
Yeah, well, we definitely kind of come to the same conclusion. Like there will need to be some crossing of the Rubicon. Some Caesarism is the only way you ever get out of this. As with any democracy that gets into its late stage, I mean, history repeats itself, right? But
well, what was the first democracy that went late stage?
Had to have been one of the ones in ancient Greece. Maybe when Solon took over Athens, and I forget what year that was. But probably had to have been one of the original Greek tyrants, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But it always ends the same way. I mean, went the same way with like Oliver Cromwell and in England and such when he took over. I mean, it's. I guess you can argue that, Lincoln certainly was a dictator. FDR, same as well. You could probably argue that pretty much every president since like the 1940s has been to some degree over here.
Oh, yeah, you're tapping into your inner Chomsky with this one.
Yeah. I mean,
which, by the way, my favorite part of horseshoe theory is now watching like the very conservative of conservatives, like quoting Noam Chomsky lines about every American president was a dictator in the last 50 years. And I'm like, bro.
Yeah, I guess it just comes from the angle, like, I just want him to be my dictator, I guess, do stuff that's for me. But what I'm kind of getting at here is that, okay, this is an argument I have with Cappy all the time, because he talks about like, oh, well, hey, did they vote for this? Did women vote for this? And now they're suffering the consequences of their actions. And I don't really think that voting remotely even matters. And I'm not saying that like, oh, because
it's 2 for 2 with Chomsky.
Yeah, well, I mean, broken clock is right twice a day, right? But it's like, okay, I'm not saying that like, okay, you go to the polls and you cast your vote and it just goes into like a fake ballot box and nothing matters and they just fabricate numbers, which undoubtedly they do in some circumstances. But it's like, okay, look at this right now. Immigration in the United States is the number one issue when you poll anybody. 80% of Americans want immigration limited to some degree, and nobody does it. No politicians do it on the local, federal, or like even the legislature and the Senate, the president. Nobody wants to tackle this issue. Nobody wants to do anything about it, even though it's what the people actually want. It's what the people actually vote for. And I just questioned myself again. It's like, okay, that seems like malice to me. You have an agenda. It wants to go in this certain direction. You don't care what people think. You don't care what people vote for. You're just going to do the thing that is beneficial to you for whatever reason that may be.
See, and this is why I love Chesty on that. He's like, all right, how do I make money off of this? I love that, carving out your success from this stuff, because it's not going to change. And I hate those pissing into the hurricane types. They're like, they got to fix this, those godless Democrats. And it's like, that's why I was talking about Ginger Girl earlier. She saw the situation. I'm not taking the COVID vaccine. We're just going to take our money and leave. And then they went and they left. They carved out a good life. They're doing social media right now. She's learning to weld. It's great. Everybody I see who's thriving in this is either joining the system, being pro-Troon, or they've decided just, I'm going to take my toys and go home. And the people that I see losing are the ones crying and whining that things aren't going their way and hoping somebody fixes it.
Yeah, very true.
I call that the Pat Stedman effect.
Yeah.
I'm going to call anything shitty the Pat Stedman effect.
It is. I mean, it's been such a pain in the ass, and so much blood, sweat, and tears has gone into just getting my company off the ground with all of the rest of my partners and trying to set up like a couple. Yeah. Thank you. I mean, I'm still amazed. Like we've even gotten it to work, basically just a bunch of, online misfits, and we got together and we built something. But it's like, okay, I mean, we've got our conferences that we were doing, we got one coming up here in June down in Tennessee. It's going to be a real fun one. But yeah, I mean, it's been pulling teeth to get people involved at like a local level, to get involved with, local chapters and fraternal organizations and such. It's tough, because you're right. Most people just want to complain. Most people just want to be part of a team. Most people just want to be part of a club, but they don't actually want to, put their money where their mouth is and get involved. And
ain't no one want to lift no heavy ass weights.
Well, the biggest thing for us too is that, like, okay, if you want to be legally incorporated into the United States under like a fraternal organizations and such, you need to actually put your name on legal paperwork. And a lot of guys don't want to do that because they're afraid of being doxxed. And it's like, listen, like, I fucking get it, I understand, but like at some point you got to put your money where your mouth is. And if you're about it, if you're about like all the things that we talk about online, it's like you got to get involved some way. And I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, I agree on that too. I also think a lot of that is overblown unless you work in academia or government, at least in Canada. Like I started to like I did risk mitigation and information security in my previous jobs in the military career. And then the canceling thing was like a serious risk that I took into account doing everything that I've done. And now I'm realizing it doesn't matter as much as people think. Like it's really overblown. Mm-hmm. It's the 8 out of 10 women initiate divorce and the 50% of marriages end in divorce. It's fear mongering. Men's rights advocates fear mongering. And you realize every single one of those divorces, there's a reason. And I'm not saying you can solve the problem, but I'm saying 8 out of 10 of those situations, like 90% of them, are because of unforced errors.
Yeah, no
doubt.
Who's
afraid to tell his wife no, and so she gets fat, and then he goes to like make a bad decision, like I'm gonna start doing hookers, I'm gonna fuck my sister's friends or something like that, like something that gets them in trouble. And you realize this all stems from a guy's inability to, like you said, to just stand for something, to have his own personal value system in place and be willing to eat any, because that's what Trump showed us. That they're like, you called women whores. He's like, only Rosie O'Donnell.
Just own it.
Yeah. You said grab women by the pussy. He goes, and they let you.
Yeah.
And then what happened? He got to be president. Like cancel culture died in 2015, I would argue.
Yeah, I would think so too, to a large extent. It seems like with every passing year, and I think we kind of have to thank the left for this, because they just call everybody racist. And it's like, okay, well, now the word just has completely no meaning. And it's kind of like the same thing with being doxxed now. It's like nobody really cares at this point.
Stone Toss just turned it into a book sale. I was like,
oh yeah, he got doxxed, and now more people are looking at his shit than ever.
Yep.
So, but at the same time, I don't know. Like they talk about don't tempting storms, right? It's like, don't go poking bears. It's
which helps.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, if you don't want to get doxxed, maybe don't do anything stupid, like trying to like start a militia or some bullshit.
Do you know how everybody got doxxed in the red? Like every time guys have gotten doxxed in the red pill, it's always because they wanted to impress a chick. Always. They have a decent Twitter following or Reddit account or something, and then they try to tap it into their real life to get laid.
I don't think I've ever ran into a chick on Twitter that I've like gone out of my way to think about, like, oh man, I really want to fuck that. It's like they're all fucking insufferable. Like, why are you trying to pull a chick off of fucking Twitter, man? Come on.
A lot of people are, man. It's amazing. Like I'll maybe tell you behind the scenes, but like bigger accounts, it's like, holy shit, you did this. I'm like, great. And I'll usually tell them like a little same thing I tell you guys, like keep your private identity away from this. I know it's feel good for the clout, but just be aware then that person at any time could put you on blast. I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, good luck, man.
I've had discussions with this with other guys like Jack or other guys like in my thing, my business partners and such. I mean, I've never once told a girl what I do online ever. And it has caused like some issues like a couple times, because like, I just don't really think it's like healthy in a relationship to be lying all the time, right? But like, it's like, oh, what are you doing on Thursday nights that we can't, go out anymore? It's like, oh, it's my night,
busy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but like, eventually like shit comes out, and then you have to think to yourself, okay, like, well, how am I going to swing this? How am I? Because
I got you, fam. I got you, fam. When I used to do pickup back in my 20s when I was still in the military. You know how everybody always makes up a job you do and everyone would be golf pro and shit? I used to say I was an accountant as opposed to like a naval communicator. And then I noticed in April, all of a sudden everybody started giving shit about accountants, which totally blew it. They're like, oh, tell me about this. I'm like, I don't like talking about work. And that was it. And I just realized, a lot of it is just to be dismissive about it. Like, what is it you do anyway? Oh, I'm busy. What do you do? I don't like talking about work when I'm on dates.
Yeah.
Because it's like everything you have has value, right? And for you, I get it. It's online. You're I'm staring at a hawk right now. Like I get the joke of it and not to take it too seriously. But at the same time, you said you built a company. It's fiscally solvent. You have proper paperwork done. There's an investment there, right? And that's worth something. So if some chick you just met, it's like, yeah, I want to fuck him, but I want to know what he does on Thursday nights. It's like, no, you got to earn that.
Mm-hmm.
Has she even fucked you yet? Probably not. So in that case, no, we're not there yet. That's the other answer. I love telling that one too. We're not there yet, which kind of implies like I'm more than happy to be open about this stuff, but you're gonna have to earn it. We're not there yet.
Yeah,
you take that if you want to. You might like it.
No, I like it. I mean, it's good. I mean, I don't know. Part of me just has it in the brain. Like, there you go. Chesty, always the voice of reason.
Always the voice of reason. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm cutting you off by the laughter. Please continue.
No, it's good. I mean, I don't know. It's just something I have to tackle with because, like, I do want the wife and kids thing. I mean, I know, like, it's what I want, right? Other people might disagree, but it's like
not their place to say.
Exactly. And at some point, it's like if I spend such a huge part of my life dedicated to this thing, which I do. I mean, fucking president, for God's sake, I gotta have calls all the time about t-shirt deals that we're having with other companies and setting up venues. You're not just the president,
but you're also a member.
Yeah.
By the way, Gen X is laughing their ass off right now, but you have no idea what I just said.
No, don't get it.
Okay. Later on, you can look it up. It's Hair Club for Men.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. It was this commercial for this hair pieces you get that they were like good enough you could swim and stuff like that. They were always on in the 80s and 90s. And then the main guy is like, I'm not just the president, I'm also a member. And then they show a photo of him with his Norwood 4 haircut. Yeah, there it is. See, I told you. I got all the jokes. I'll make Gen X laugh their ass off.
It's like, do you know who Joe Buck is?
Why does that sound familiar?
He's a sportscaster, famous. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So he, number one, his dad was a sportscaster, which is how he got his job. But Joe is famously fucking awful at his job. He like calls players the wrong names like all the time. He's got horrible cadence. He doesn't know how to like emphasize, big hits like in a baseball game, but whatever. He was like one of the first guys to apply for like hair plug treatment. And he wrote about this like in his book, how he's like really concerned about him losing his hair. Right. And he spent something like $200,000 on like hair plug treatments and they didn't even take, so it looked like absolute shit. And yeah, everyone just keeps on ragging on this goofball ever since then. Cause like he told it all in his book. It is in his memoir book that I don't know why the fuck anyone reads it. God knows why. Well, like affirmative action.
I'm going to read his, I think. Yeah. The whole thing is funny. What were we just talking about that started this whole thing? The Hair Club for Member. Before my Hair Club for Member to distraction, because we were going somewhere good, and I totally left you out.
I was just going somewhere about like
the wife and kids.
Yeah, and then also just like it is something you are going to have to disclose at some point. If I spend so much time on this, like I'm on calls,
well, that's the beauty of it. Like nature's got you sorted out, man. The Lacey Green effect. Girls, like, how I'm telling you guys, like, narcissism is the male disorder and borderline personality disorder is the female one. Like, obviously, as a personality disorder, it's like a pathological version of. But generally speaking, if you look at the behaviors in borderline and the behaviors in narcissism, they pair to code for man and they code for women pretty well. The one for women that they got great is a mirroring effect. So if a girl is really into you, she wants to fuck you, throw a baby into me, all that shit. They tend to like what you like. And it's not like I'm going to like this so he likes me. Their brain is actually convincing them. That's why Rolo's wife likes the San Francisco 49ers when she never watched football before they got together. And if she got divorced with him and dated some other guy that liked the Raiders, she'd start loving the Raiders and wouldn't think of any that's that cognitive dissonance thing that Rolo always talks about too. So you find a girl and she starts liking you for your giant belt buckle and your cowboy hat and your asshole attitude. All of a sudden she's going to be into, oh, dude, I would love to have a fraternal order for guys to go and do their thing while I bake a sourdough bread. She'll be into it. But that's just how that's as close as we're ever going to get to pair bonding is borderline personality disorder. And that's why you don't have to lead with your, what are you doing on Thursday? It's like, don't worry about it. If you're into me, you won't care. And if you are really into me, you're going to be into it too. But then why do it early on? Because then chicks bring their own political bent to it. Because I don't know here very well, but I think most chicks are Democrats.
Yeah.
So as soon as you get there, there's that argument. As soon as you start bringing up conservative shit, you're going to have a Canadian or an argument between Dems and Republicans, and then your date's fucked.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, it's like the famous Sam Hyde quote, right? And I'm constantly in fights with guys about this all the time in my circles because
Oh, the
they
girl
think,
with autism.
yeah, exactly. And they've got it in their brain, and this just goes to show you that don't have much experience like actually dating chicks or anything. It's like, oh well, the secret to a healthy and long lasting relationship and marriage is when the man and the woman agree with everything on philosophical and political grounds. It's like, shut the fuck up, guys. I
Yeah.
don't want to hear women talking about like political issues. I just don't. Because at the end of the day, all politics goes down to it's just the same thing that Robert Heinlein talked about in Starship Troopers. It's the application of force. And at the end of the day, women are not as good at applying force as men. And that's just the simple fact of the matter. So I was discussing this in my article too. It's like, I don't really care if any quote unquote woman is quote unquote right wing, whatever even that means and to what degree women can be. The only thing that matters is she on my team? That's
Team
the
Redhawk.
important part.
Well, that's it, dude. There's a bunch of married guys here in the chat or relationship guys. How many of you guys, and I've gotten it, have gotten the question like, who are we voting for? That question right there is all you need to know on this one. I get it. I'm assuming Chesty gets it. Nick might have even got it with his ex, but you know what I mean? Girls don't really care about this stuff. They're most so concerned about the subtext of it, the social clout of it. When I told my girl I was going to stop trying to work in corporate and I was going to start this thing, she saw I had 10,000 Twitter followers and she was all for it. To think of all the things that 10,000 Twitter followers can get you. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. You could be a Purple Pill podcast and buy 10,000 followers, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, is he a cuck or like a poly or something with his whole every time you guys come meet my girlfriend, she's a 10. I'm like, are you trying to pawn her off or pimp her?
Yeah, it's like, what, you want me to fuck her? Why are you talking about her?
Why? I don't know. Even if she is any good, the guy is just, he's so insufferable. Even when I block him, I can't get him out of my head because everybody else keeps arguing with him. And I'm like, he just loves,
well, it's like that
at least it's good attention.
It's like that date site guy. Like I've had that fucker blocked for like a year.
Oh,
but somehow he just keeps weaseling his way back in.
He does. It's annoying as shit. All I got now is that stupid meme where they turned him into a Wojak.
Yeah, well, and then I've got like fucking friends over at like the Lotus Eaters, like Sargon of Akkad's company, and they're pretty good guys. I went over and toured their studio last year when I was over there in London. But but then they're having this fucking guy on, like he's the authority on like what actually all the data means with the online dating stuff. It's like, have you guys done any fucking research into this guy? Come on.
Obviously, no.
No, of course not. No, but he's the one who's saying things a little bit nicer, and he's the one like, my God, it's so strange how all like in the past couple of years there's just been way more like female content creators in like the conservative Inc. Sphere, and it wasn't like that when I was in it in like 2018, 2019, 2020. So I don't know what has changed in the last 4 years, but it's just become infested with women, and it's made for a shittier product.
I think it's the ones that still have. I think they have too much pride to become hookers. Like the economy's bad. You know that meme, like what women think they're doing in the apocalypse versus what they're doing?
Yeah.
I think it's a case of an economic downturn. Lipstick sales are up and influencers are on there.
Well, it's just because it's also because there's just such a market for thirsty dudes to listen to women opinions, talk about and agree with them. It's like,
I wonder what the market saturation is going to be. Imagine when it starts getting competitive. Oh, that's going to be some KY jelly cat fights. You have no idea.
It's only going to be a matter of time until like either like the nude photos of one of these chicks gets leaked or she like does her own like OnlyFans or something like that. It's only a matter of time. I guarantee.
Well, I mean, they're doing the OnlyFans thing now. And what's that, Bobbert? The Colorado chick giving Buddy a hand job in the theater for the first date.
Yeah.
And the big joke now is her and AOC gonna have a mud wrestling match for who gets to be president.
So what's so funny is in that it was like a same like 2 to 3 week period. We had basically every single Republican female politician all at the same time had one of these like scandals come out about them. It was like Boebert giving hand jobs, Kristi Noem sleeping with one of Trump's aides, Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia was having like threesomes with her yoga instructors after she just got divorced.
Holy eat, pray, love.
It was all in like the same week.
The thing that gets me the most is the Boebert one, like a hand job. Isn't she like 40? Something and you're doing 13-year-old in the movie theater bullshit like a hand job? Come on, man. You're just dating. You've already gotten to the point where it's like duties. Come on. A real woman would have blown her man in the movie theater, and they'd
Yeah.
recorded it on Pornhub.
It's
It just feels like an idiocracy thing.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna go all the way back to like the man show and girls jumping on trampolines, but it'll be like for politics. I think it's gonna be hilarious watching Cake Tits in from jail. We've donated a KY.
Yeah, and it's those red pill guys' fault.
Yeah, it's all our fault. It's all our fault. Meanwhile, we're sitting here. Every one of us is in like a healthy relationship, getting laid on the regular, doing our best, making our, carving our incomes out, doing our thing, and just looking at all these people just like stepping over each other. Let's go to jail. Fuck it. I'm gonna get in a gay sex cult. Let's go.
Yeah.
What else? What else have they done? What else? We've got 2 guys went to jail. One guy got killed by the Ukrainian Nazi CIA.
Yeah.
One had a heart attack by fucking a hooker while bitching about black chicks. I think it was Samuels.
One guy went on a shooting spree, and
oh, that's right. I forgot about the shooting spree. How sad is that when the shooting spree guy makes like 8th on your list of retards? Who else we got here? You know what's crazy too? More dangerous profession, red pill influencer, than my profession in the military. I've seen more deaths per capita. Insane. I should have gone back to Iraq or Iran. Iran locked missiles onto me. I remember this specifically. I was calling my mom on the VoIP. It was her birthday, and we're going through the streets of Hormuz, and I hear this loud beeping sound, which is coming through bulkheads, through ops. Like, what is that? Oh, that's Iran. They're saber rattling. Their SAMs are locked onto the ships. I'm like, oh. My mom's like, what is up with that? Like, don't worry about that. I'm like, I don't want to worry. It was just such a surreal moment.
Yeah.
And now, what's the biggest deal? Oh, well, I got to get this content out. You're gonna get shot, dude. Fuck it.
Well, it's like
people must know.
Yeah, you see all these women bitching about like the red pill sphere these days, and it's kind of like the same thing I was addressing in my article about how their mean names are being called at them, so therefore we have to grind everything to a halt. But it's like they have this absolutely retarded take about how like the red pill is going to turn women away from the Republican movement, and therefore it's going to have an effect on elections. It's like, bitch, the most notorious like red pill accounts have what, like 1 million subs. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, we're nobodies.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a single fucking person who answers like political polls who knows who any of us are. Shut up.
Yeah. But that's the funny thing. We're now part of the AstroTurf. This is the biggest boogeyman ever. It's like, no, we don't exist. Technically, we're one step above links in bio, or like pussy in bio, or whatever. There's that, and then there's like Rolo and us, and then there's like who's that economist, that Krugman, and God. Bill Maher, Tim Pool, and then everybody else.
Yeah. Then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us.
And then people who actually get shit done. I mean, I kind of laugh about that's why I love being irreverent about this. That's why I'll post goatsy. I don't give a fuck. Like, what are you gonna do? Dude, you can't post somebody's gaping asshole. That'll ruin your brand. I'm like, will it? At this point, is that the worst thing that people have seen on social media today? Never is. Somebody with their kids. Disney's got 5 more pedos they just arrested, and they're like, oh, what's the other new one? Nickelodeon found out a bunch of child diddlers. Like, everybody's diddling kids now. Teachers are diddling kids on a crazy level.
Yeah. I mean,
at the point people are wondering where all the male teacher diddlers are. And it's like, you fired all the guys.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no more guys left to diddle the kids. I don't know where they are now.
Yeah. I mean, part of me thinks like, well, there has to be something going on, because I guess there is a market to some degree, even like a clown like Roman McClay or something like that. I mean, there's a market for these guys, right? I mean, which tells me that there's something actually is wrong.
And the market got 6 people smaller that day.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know.
It's a murder joke, people. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it is. It's just spectacle. It's because, remember, here's like an American South thing, tradition that nobody else in the world has. Those freak shows, those little 25 cent or 5 cent freak shows up the side of the road in the South.
Like the P.T. Barnum stuff?
Yeah, the fat man, the bearded lady, the Siamese twins, all that shit. I think a lot of social media is just that now. Everybody has this need for Jerry Springer. I want to see somebody who's a shittier person than me, and I'm a piece of shit, so it's hard. And then social media people, that's why the ones that rise are the ones that are the biggest pieces of shit.
Yeah,
I mean, why Rolo is always sitting there getting run up the flagpole. Meanwhile, Andrew Tate's like, what's great? Hulk Hogan with a dick. Everybody's like, I love this guy.
It's like what inevitably happens when you democratize a space and open it to, all classes and all people. It's just going to always, yeah, it's always going to go to the lowest common denominator. I mean, yeah, it's like the only way to make a forest equal is with an axe, right?
Yeah.
So
who did that quote? I always liked that one.
Well, I know it's a quote,
old-timey vibe.
I know it's a quote in a Rush song, but it's not like quite the same. It's
Rush I got to start listening to Rush songs. It's supposed to be the Canadian thing that everybody's supposed to know, and I never pay attention to them, and I really should. Nick schools me on Rush, for fuck's sakes. He can't even spell Canada. He doesn't put U in anything. Like, no color. No, there's no U in there. Like, shut up, there is. That's an editing joke, by the way, guys. That's why nobody's laughing. Oh, wait, I guess I should get to devs here. Yeah, the main people talking about degenerates, the ones who follow the old Shakespeare quote. Go have fun with some girls and regret less. Heartfelt. Oh, the sound and fury signaling nothing. Oh, yeah, what's that other quote where it was the stakes have to be so low for people to be fighting this hard?
Oh, interesting.
Which I agree with. Like, all this red pill dudes, all this Twitter stuff, none of this shit matters. I could post a gaping asshole when somebody's talking about the red pill guys ruined her marriage. Everybody will laugh. I'll get one new subscriber. Like, it's not even consequential. And it's like the little things we're doing. Like you said yourself, your company, you somehow became president. You somehow made it solvent, and you're somehow making it grow to the point now that you want to keep women away from it so they don't try to fuck it up.
Yeah.
How'd you do that? None of this shit. You didn't blame red pill guys for things. You didn't put a bunch of tits in front of it. You just stopped and you did a modicum of work, progressed incrementally towards a goal, and you got there. It's almost like there's a system that you can do where you just work hard and succeed.
Yeah. But nobody wants to see that. Everyone wants to see the cat fights and the bitching. And I don't know. I guess we have to talk to Destiny again, apparently, because that's what everyone wants. Like,
dude, is there anything that guy won't stick his dick in?
Apparently not. I guess he's
dating
his
new thing or some butt sex drama or something. I didn't really follow it too well. I just know Finkelstein called him a moron, and I'm like, I like talking about Holocausts now.
I don't know. All I saw was that he's like butt fucking some Mossad agent now or something like that. I don't know.
That's funny. Went from the Swedish horror to the. I still have a clip of her. I wish I hated her or had like anything to say, because it's just one of like. She's just sad that the guy just wanted to suck her dick. And I was like, man, if Destiny would have stuck around for a little bit longer, I could have used that clip for forever. Now I just got the stupid one where she's dancing with the Aber and Preach guy while he's sitting there.
Oh my God. Yeah. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, what all this shit, the only thing that's good out of it is a 5-second meme that I could put up with a red morning ad on it. And that's it. That's the only benefit out of this for me. And that's as far into it as I look. Same as you. You're like, we don't even know who the Mossad agent is, who he's sleeping with. You'd think we'd learn these details. It's like, doesn't matter.
No.
He's having butt sex. That's hilarious.
He's the pinnacle of discussing masculinity, and so much so he gets to talk to Jordan Peterson about it.
Yeah. He has a Wikipedia article up in front of him and he's reading it. And then the guy who's like survived the Holocaust is like, put that Wikipedia article down, you fucking moron. That's the shit I'm here for. But yeah, I'm same as you. Like, this company, it's actually doing pretty well. It's making, this year is the first year I made more now than I did when I was in corporate, and I was doing pretty well in corporate. So
good
I'm like,
for you, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good. Let's fluff each other more. Good for you too. But well, I mean, what did we do? We just did some work. That's all you did. You showed up on time.
Well, I guess this is time for me to fluff the host here a little bit too. But like, yeah, man, like your work is great. It's definitely helped me out quite a bit.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Throughout the years. And like funny enough, I was talking to our friend Kenzie Puff in a group chat recently, and I was like, yeah, like if anyone wants actual like legitimate advice and legitimate help in this space to help the relationships, like you're the guy I always point to, in my space of things. I'm like, yeah, go listen to Ryan.
Not on Twitter. Don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I say. It's like he's abrasive and you're not gonna like him at first, but like get through it. And if you can get through it, there's some serious nuggets of information there for you, and it'll help you out to a huge degree.
I feel bad. I think one of those guys, you sent them to me and he did that. I was talking about the archetypes of women. He goes, dude, you should do some content on this. I would love to see this. I'm like, it's been on my fucking playlist for 4 years, asshole. He's like, no, I just didn't know. I'm like, okay, my bad. Yeah, it's right over here. And honestly, I think that's the difference too. A lot of people realize it's kind of an act. Like if I'm being shitty and online, and then I notice they're a sincere person, I walk it back. I'm like, yeah, my bad. I didn't mean to It's internet. You got to understand, and then we kind of carry on from there. But I don't think people are able to turn off and on their emotions like that when they start getting into fights on Twitter. They're just in it.
Yeah.
And I can tell because they're all shitting on. It's been 2 weeks. That elf girl's still shitting on Nuke. Dude, she mentioned at one point she sat home and cried over his roasting. Why are you coming back then? Do you want to cry more? And she clearly does.
Apparently. I just hope Nuke starts smashing some of these chicks at some point because, you know, you're putting in so much effort at this point.
Yeah. By the way, he's not wrong. This is Canadian as well. Show up on time in the right uniform. 90% of your problems are gone. He's true. My birthday. I guess we should end the stream here in a minute because you're going on Rule Zero today, aren't you too?
Yeah. Jack, our friend Jack is hosting. Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, I got to make sure. I'll set it up so we do the redirect. So you don't even have to think about where you're going. But what was I talking about here? Oh, the just show up and on time. My birthday, 30th birthday. I was gonna get loaded. My friends took me to a party, and I told my boss, I'm like, I'm gonna need to take a sick day tomorrow, or like a leave day or whatever, because of this and this and this, and they're gonna get me plastered. And he goes, I don't care, just get to work. I just need a body in that seat. And literally, I slept under the desk at the knock. Nobody was deployed, so there's nothing. I got up, throw up 3 or 4 times. My boss came in. He's like, I think somebody's smoking cigarettes in the bathroom, because I had thrown up a bunch of Powerade, and I guess there was cigarette ash or cigarette smoke in it, smelling it so bad that he thought I was smoking. But that's the point. Sometimes just showing up is half the battle.
Yeah.
It was a great shift, other than that part. And that was when I got the idea for the mids watch. All right, here, lead us out. I'm gonna set up the thing to Nuke. Lead us out with some closing thoughts here.
Yeah,
those goddamn Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just in conclusion, in my side of things, in my space of things, it's like I'm more than happy to like have women show up in the spaces and such. I just hold men to an actual standard and not to destroy the actual function of the space and the mission that guys are trying to do by placating to the whims of women, which more or less always get boiled down to that guy said something mean to me. Now, please stop whatever you are doing and address my feelings. And I'm like, fuck you. I don't care.
God, that would be nice. All right. So leading off, I guess Brett gets the final word. Ryan's book on Frame is absolutely spectacular. If you haven't read it yet, you really need to. I'm not going to argue with that. And I'm working on the hardcovers now. So I'm going to get those out. Ooh. And I'm going to add the 13th chapter to Fuck Files finally. Rob's the only guy I ever caught that. I don't know if you know this. My first book, I left out chapter 13 because I'm like, it's kind of clever. Rob was the first guy who ever asked. And that's when I knew most people don't read books. They just buy them as merch.
Really?
Because he was like the 5,000th sale.
You skipped a whole chapter in that book because I remember reading it front to back on one plane when I was flying to Vegas and back once. And I gotta go back. It's on my bookshelf.
Yeah, it's the way the formats work. Whereas like chapter 1, and then it's got 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. It's organized the way a military book would be.
Mm-hmm.
And then 13 goes straight from chapter 13 to 13 tack 2. I guess it's subtle, whatever. Anyways, enjoy yourselves, guys. Let's see you on, I got the thing set up. You'll be able to do the whatever. Single moms, a horrible position that's not my problem. It's so hard to get. There we go. Here's the bout. Out.
$79T 24.